Chapter 14:19. The fist was like a mountain, majestic and imposing. However, when it landed on Jiang Qin's body, the shadow of a real dragon erupted and shattered the fist. Then, Jiang Qin struck out with his palm. It was as if the sky had been turned upside down, suppressing the extraordinaire. "You? How can you have such combat strength?" The extraordinaire was terrified, and his eyes were full of disbelief. He knew very well that when outsiders entered the path of a mortal ancient, their cultivation and Taoist techniques would be suppressed, not to mention the same level. Even if someone was one level higher than him, they might not be able to defeat him. But now, a high-level emperor had suppressed him with a single slap. If it weren't for the fact that there's something wrong with the world and order here, I could suppress a top extraordinaire with a single hand. Jiang Chun said coldly, "Tell me, why are you so afraid of the heavenly tribulation?" As soon as he said this, the extraordinaire's expression changed drastically. He pursed his lips and chose to remain silent. Jiang Qin smiled and pointed out. Using a secret technique, his divine consciousness rushed into the extraordinaire soul and began to search for the answer himself. After more than 10 breaths, Jiang Qin's expression became strange. In the end, it was even more shocking. From the extraordinaire's memory, he knew that the creatures on the path of a mortal ancient were all afraid of the heavenly tribulation, as if they were natural enemies. There were even rumors that the creatures on the path of a mortal ancient were all dead souls. The dead souls belonged to Yin, while the heavenly tribulation belonged to Yang. Naturally, they were afraid of it. However, the extraordinaire in front of him was a living person. How could he be a dead soul? "By the way, why is there a part of your memory sealed?" Jiang Qin asked curiously. "Is there some other secret?" "Even if there is a secret, I can't say it. My memory is sealed. If I say it, the seal will explode, and I will die." The extraordinaire was very honest. It was because he knew very well that there were some secrets that he couldn't say even if he wanted to. However, it was a pity that he had run into Jiang Qin today. At this moment, Jiang Qin used the chaotic energy directly to attack the deepest part of this extraordinary person's soul. It was even easier for him to break the seal on his memory. Boom! However, before Jiang Qin could explore his most important memories, the supernatural being revealed a sinister expression and chose to self-destruct. With a loud explosion, a transcendent of a generation fell. "What's the situation?" Jiang Qin frowned. "What kind of secret is it that you're not willing to tell me even if it means self-destruction?" It was at this moment that Jiang Qin sensed something in his heart. He looked up into the sky above the immortal ancient path, and it was as if he could see a pair of invisible eyes staring at him. "Lord of the ancient hell, are you speaking the truth?" Jiang Qin asked softly. Soon after, Jiang Qin quickly left. He couldn't stay in one place for too long. After all, right now, the creatures of the immortal ancient path were all hunting them down. Half a day later, outside an ancient city on the immortal ancient road, the ancient city was majestic, but it also carried the mottled aura of time. The city walls were made of an unknown black stone and were engraved with the marks of swords and sabers, as well as bloodstains. Around the city walls, there were restrictions and barriers everywhere. It seemed that this ancient city was a very important place. Did you guys hear? The otherworldly beings are here. Our chance is here. It's a pity that our cultivation is not enough. We can't hunt down those otherworldly beings. Jiang Qin hid his aura and hid outside the city walls. He heard many things. The more he listened, the more anxious he became. If we can kill a otherworldly being and seize his body, we can leave this damned place. Return to the human world. Seize the body? Return to the human world? Could it be that all the creatures on the immortal ancient path are dead souls? Jiang Qin was shocked. He felt the seriousness of this matter. He wanted to retreat. After all, this place was too dangerous. However, at this moment, a chariot came from the distance. It was pulled by 3 dragons and 3 phoenixes. It was quite extraordinary. On the chariot, a young man holding a halberd stood proudly. There was a trace of a domineering aura between his brows. Following his arrival, The creatures in the ancient city couldn't help but become excited. Someone even shouted, "It's the headhunters! The outstanding headhunters, Huang Shangwei." Amidst everyone's cheers, the chariot arrived above the ancient city. Then, the young man standing on the chariot slowly opened his mouth and said, "I am the headhunter, Huang Shangwei. Today, I am here to announce the decree. The reincarnation sect has decreed that anyone who finds traces of the otherworldly being can directly enter the reincarnation sect and become an inner sect disciple. If anyone can hand over the otherworldly being's corpse, they can become a true disciple and enjoy all the cultivation resources in the reincarnation sect." After Huang Shangwei's words, everyone in the ancient city became excited. Some people shouted about the reincarnation sect, while others shouted strangely. They seemed to be very excited. At this moment, Huang Shangwei's expression froze. His gaze suddenly shifted and landed on Jiang Chen's hiding place. At this moment, Jiang Chen didn't hesitate. He stood up and tore open the void to escape this place. "In front of me, a mere otherworldly being. You still want to escape?" Huang Shangwei said with disdain. He slowly lowered his hand, and the space around Jiang Chen began to distort as if it was turning into a cage. "What? The law of space?" Jiang Chen was shocked. Since ancient times, not many people had mastered such a supreme law. But now, one had appeared in this place. "If I want to leave, you can't stop me." Jiang Chen roared angrily. The shadows of a dragon and a tiger appeared. His hands suddenly rushed out and tore open the void. Then, he directly escaped. This scene stunned Huang Shangwei for a long time. He really didn't expect that an otherworldly being could escape from his law of space. This person is extraordinary. If I can get his body, I will definitely be able to complete my extraordinary path. Huang Shangwei's eyes flashed. He came from the reincarnation sect and knew many secrets. He also knew how important the otherworldly being's body was to the living beings in the immortal ancient road. "This person's body is mine," Huang Shangwei said softly. Then, he drove the war chariot and chased after him. At this moment, Jiang Chen felt uneasy. He was afraid that his guess was about to come true. If the immortal ancient road was a scam, then who was the one who set up this scam and deceived the world for several generations? Was it the Lord of the ancient hell? Or was it someone else? But no matter what, ever since they entered the immortal ancient road, they had fallen into a trap. What green leaf? What for the otherworldly being? It was all nonsense. The creatures on the path of immortal ancient clearly wanted their fleshly bodies. Soul rebirth. This is not the immortal ancient road. On that day, a powerhouse at the end of the immortal ancient road died. Before he died, a voice filled with fear and unwillingness rang out in all directions. It was also on this day that many people discovered the clues. Some of them even had their bodies taken away. Chapter 14:20. At this point, many people understood that there was something strange about the path of the immortal ancient. If it was a battle of life and death, it was fine if they died because their skills were inferior. However, their bodies were taken away after death. This was a little strange. This path was opened by the ancient underworld. Are they souls of the dead? The souls of the strong cultivators collected by the ancient underworld were all placed here. Some people made bold guesses. Their minds were uneasy, and their backs were sweating. If their guesses were true, then the three worlds had been cheated by the ancient underworld this time. A day later, Jiang Chen arrived at a secluded mountain range. The grass here was green, and the streams flowed. The scenery was beautiful. However, Jiang Chen felt Nayland Mayer's aura here. That's not right. Aren't they cultivating in the time domain? Jiang Chen was puzzled. However, it was normal when he thought about it. If those female disciples could cultivate obediently, why would their cultivation be so low? Nayland Mayer most likely sneaked out. Could it be? After a dozen breaths of time, Jiang Chen followed the aura and quickly found Nayland Mayer's traces. There were traces of a fight and bloodstains beside a stream. At this moment, Jiang Chen's heart skipped a beat. He knew that something had happened. Nayland Mayer was a war dancer. Her combat strength was not high. If she encountered a one-on-one situation, this little girl would most likely be at a disadvantage. And now, the bloodstains in front of him were enough to prove all of this. Jiang Chun did not dare to hesitate. He followed the aura and bloodstains and quickly arrived at a small village. Boom! Immediately, Jiang Chun took a step forward and rushed into the small village. A terrifying aura filled the air, shocking everyone in the village. "Young man, are you from the outside world?" "You? What do you mean?" A few courageous villagers walked over, each of them trembling. "Is my disciple in your world?" Jiang Chun asked coldly. Facing the creatures of the immortal ancient road, Jiang Chun did not dare to be careless. Although these people in front of him had no cultivation, Jiang Chun did not believe what he saw. If these people really did not have any cultivation, how did they manage to bring Nayland Mayer here? If she really didn't have any cultivation, how could Nayland Mayer be injured? "Are you talking about that woman from another world?" A white-haired old man walked shakily to Jiang Chun with a walking stick. He pointed at a dilapidated temple not far away and said, "Previously, a woman was injured and came to our village. After that, she went to that dilapidated temple. As for whether she's still here, we really don't know." "A dilapidated temple?" Jiang Chun frowned. He stared at the dilapidated temple not far away, his heart filled with vigilance. Nayland Mayer was a cultivator, and so was Jiang Chun. Then, since they were so close to each other, they should be able to sense each other's presence. If Nayland Mayer was really in the temple, she would have come out to see Jiang Chun. Moreover, Jiang Chun did not sense Nayland Mayer's presence. "Look, she's in there." At that moment, the old man with the walking stick pointed at the entrance of the ruined temple. A white-clothed woman with blood-stained hair was standing there. This person was Nayland Mayer. However, Nayland Mayer did not seem to see Jiang Chun. She stood alone in the temple, looking up at the sky. Jiang Chun was eager to save her, and he dashed over immediately. He took a step forward and entered the ruined temple. The moment he entered the ruined temple, the world before his eyes spun, and then everything before his eyes changed. Inside the temple, there was no Buddha statue or anything else. There were only inscriptions and runes. This place was a sealed place. "Young man, the reincarnation sect has already spread your portrait and is looking for you. I didn't expect you to deliver yourself to us." What super mundane powerhouse. In our eyes, he's just SOSO. At this moment, the entire village had changed. The small village from before was now steaming with white fog. In a few breaths, it had turned into a small sect. The dilapidated temple he saw earlier was actually a cage. "If we offer this person to Huangshang, we will definitely get great benefits. A person that even Upper Huang values so highly. Do you think that if we were to obtain his body?" At this moment, outside the temple, a group of villagers were discussing whether to offer Jiang Chun to Huangshang or use him for themselves. The man could be offered, but the woman, we have the same idea. At this moment, Jiang Chun was trapped in the array and did not hear the voices outside. He found Nayland Mayer, who was unconscious. Other than her severe injuries, Nayland Mayer was fine. "Master," at this moment, Nayland Mayer opened her eyes. When she saw Jiang Chun, her originally charming eyes were filled with self-blame and grievance. "I missed you, so I snuck out," Nayland Mayer said softly, her voice very weak. Jiang Chun sighed and did not blame her. He sat cross-legged in front of Nayland Mayer and healed her injuries. After half a day, Nayland Mayer's injuries were basically healed. The charming look in her eyes reappeared. Her white, jade-like slender hands slowly rested on Jiang Chun's body. She breathed in and out, and her eyes rippled. "Cough, cough. Be serious. Look at the situation now." Jiang Chun blushed and felt a headache coming on. These female disciples did not look at the situation and did not care about the occasion. This person is inside. Suddenly, the surrounding inscriptions and runes disappeared. At the same time, the figure of Huang Shangwei appeared in front of Jiang Chun. He was still standing proudly on the war chariot, as if he was the most powerful god of war in the world. Beside him, a few villagers bowed their heads. I want your physical body. If you are obedient, destroy your own soul to avoid being tortured. Huang Shangwei looked at Jiang Chun, and the greed in his eyes was not concealed at all. When Jiang Chun heard that, he suddenly stood up. He tore open the void with one hand and sent Nayland Mayer out. Then, the illusory figures of the dragon and tiger exploded. Tens of thousands of Dharma laws fell and surrounded Jiang Chun like the source of all things. The chaotic chi lingered, and the three Tao souls appeared at the same time. They used all their means. Oh, I was right. You are very powerful and suitable to be my physical body. Huang Shangwei praised as if he was admiring a piece of art. I have always been very powerful, Jiang Chun whispered. He stared at Huang Shangwei and said, Can you tell me a question? What is this place? The road of a mortal ancient, Huang Shangwei said. For someone like you who is about to die, I can tell you the truth. This place is not only called the road of a mortal ancient, it is also called the road to the underworld. Chapter 14:21. Road to the Yellow Springs? Jiang Chun was shocked. He knew the significance of the road to the Yellow Springs. It was said that the road to the Yellow Springs only existed in the ancient underworld. Stepping on the road to the Yellow Springs was equivalent to stepping into the cycle of reincarnation. The end of the road to the Yellow Springs was the end of the cycle of reincarnation. This is the road to the Yellow Springs of the ancient underworlds? Jiang Chun asked. Yes. Huang Shangwei nodded and said, We are all people who strive to cross over. Unfortunately, for some reason, we can't reincarnate. Over time, we are left here as souls. Heh, what a great master of the ancient underworld. He has played such a big game. Is he trying to bury all three worlds? Jiang Chun felt a chill in his heart. He had never dreamed that the master of the ancient underworld would play such a big game. He wasn't trying to destroy one world. He was trying to completely destroy all three worlds. Now, there were no strong cultivators in the three worlds. The ancient underworld was strong enough to sweep through all three worlds. I've said what I needed to say. Now, it's time to send you on your way. Huang Shangwei said. The war chariot roared, and the battle aura was like a sharp sword that tore through the clouds and shattered the heavens. He waved his hand, and the halberd in his hand slashed down. Thousands of laws withered, and there was a vague feeling that it was above the great Tao. This attack was too powerful. Jiang Chun didn't even have time to react before he was sent flying. Since you're already a dead soul, rest in peace forever. At this moment, Jiang Chun roared. The spiritual body that he had when he broke through earlier fell down and merged with it. His aura continued to soar, and there were streaks of fate descending from the heavens. Fate added to his body. Buzz. However, this fate only existed for 3 breaths of time before it disappeared again. The laws of the great Tao here were strange. It was difficult for the fate of the heavens to descend. I, Jiang Chun, will be invincible. Jiang Chun wasn't discouraged. With a roar, the emperor's pain turned into a purple gold sword in his hand, and the inextinguishable flame turned into a battle armor that covered his body. The myriad transformations' heavenly lamp burned above his head, protecting his true spirit from being extinguished. Then Jiang Chun rushed out, blocking his opponent's halberd and smashing it with his fist. You might be very strong in the outside world, but in this place, we dead souls are the masters. Huang Shangwei's face was full of contempt. He waved his right hand, and a fist light tore through the void and collided with Jiang Chun's fist. Boom! With a loud explosion, Jiang Chun was sent flying again. The emperor's vine that had transformed into a sharp sword dissipated as it was sent back into his body. Even the inextinguishable flames covering his body flickered as if they were about to be extinguished. In the end, you were still an ant. Huang Shangyi was very indifferent, but there was also a trace of contempt and arrogance in his voice. In his eyes, Jiang Chun's body was already his. Once he obtained this body, he would be able to return to the Yang world. Once upon a time, I also looked down on all heroes. I also had a glorious time. I was also revered by tens of thousands of people. However, after I die, I step onto the road to the Yellow Springs and can't enter the cycle of reincarnation. I hate it. Today, since I found a good body, I can return to the yang world. After I leave the outside world, I can return to my glory. Huang Shangyi was a little emotional. He seemed to have seen the days after he returned to the yang world. You don't deserve to have my body, Jiang Chun said coldly. Suddenly, the ever-changing heavenly lamp burned, and a chaotic sword light shot out and slashed Huang Shangyi's chariot. If Huang Shangyi had not dodged in time, this sword might not have been able to kill him, but it would have severely injured him. You have such a skill? The ever-changing heavenly lamp? Huang Shangyi's eyes narrowed. Only now did he recognize Jiang Chen's Tao soul, and the greed in his eyes became more obvious. 3 souls, chaotic qi, and such a strong physical body. This was the physical body that he had always dreamed of. It's over. You will rest here forever, Huang Shangyi said softly. Runes circled around his body and gathered in his heavenly halberd. Then, he struck and hit the ever-changing heavenly lamp back into Jiang Chen's body. Moreover, this attack's momentum didn't decrease at all. It tore open Jiang Chen's body and almost shattered his soul. Buzz! However, at this moment, rumbling sounds came from Jiang Chen's side. Clouds floated from the void, and he seemed to be bathed in divine light, making him look sacred. His body was reconstructed in an instant, and his soul was restored. The 3 Tao souls appeared again. Moreover, the 3 strands of chaotic energy also appeared. They were divided into 3 sides and supported the ever-changing heavenly lamp. It was like 3 stars surrounding the moon, and it was like 3 flowers converging above one's head. Huang Shangyi frowned. His expression was solemn, because he felt a sense of threat. He couldn't understand why Jiang Chun, who hadn't been able to withstand a single blow, had suddenly become so strong. Hurry up and leave. Don't worry about me. At this moment, although Jiang Chun had recovered and his combat strength had increased greatly, his expression was very serious. He raised his head and looked into the distance. In the void, a woman was dancing. Her body was burning with flames. Her true spirit seemed to be on fire and was dissipating. This person was Nayland Mayer. She did not leave. She had been in the distance until she saw that Jiang Chun was about to die. Then she danced. She danced in a battle and galloped through the vast universe alone. However, Jiang Chen's heart was twitching. He knew that Nayland Mayer was burning her true spirit to dance. Otherwise, Jiang Chen's combat strength would not have increased so much. The consequence of burning one's true spirit to dance was eternal death. If one's true spirit was destroyed, one would not even be qualified to enter the cycle of reincarnation. Master, if I were to die, would you miss me? Nayland Mayer asked with a smile. Not a trace of sadness could be seen from her face. Before Jiang Chun could speak, Nayland Mayer's charming eyes flashed with sadness. She said softly, "It's a pity that I can't become your woman until now." "Stop!" Jiang Chun roared. He wanted to rush over to stop Nayland Mayer. However, Huang Shangyi rushed over. The halberd fell, and the universe collapsed. "You're courting death." Jiang Chen's eyes were burning with anger. His anger exploded like a tsunami. He punched out, and the light around him flickered. Heavenly dance of brightness and darkness. Light and darkness intertwined. Yin and yang collided. When Jiang Chun was reborn, the first martial technique he used was the heavenly dance of brightness and darkness. Boom! After 2 consecutive explosions, a light flashed past and broke Huang Shangyi's halberd. Then, a dark light flashed past and sent Huang Shangyi flying. I saw it again. Heavenly dance of brightness and darkness. Nayland Mayer said softly. Thinking back, that was a happy time. At that time, they were all small cultivators. But at that time, they did not have to think about this world. At that time, what passed in their eyes was the world. At that time, Nayland Mayer only had Jiang Chun in her eyes. He was her world. Stop! After Jiang Chun sent Huang Shangyi flying, he rushed toward Nayland Mayer. He wanted to stop her. However, Huang Shangyi rushed over again. He punched, and stars fell like a meteor shower. Chapter 14:22. Huang Shangwei was very strong. His fist light was like a meteor, covering this part of heaven and earth. Even Nayland Mayer in the distance was implicated. Divine light burned all over her body. Her entire person was like a withered leaf, seemingly about to turn into ashes. Jiang Chun glared. As he roared, fist lights that filled the sky danced out, rushing towards Nayland Mayer at the same time. He did not want to see Nayland Mayer get into an accident, let alone see her die. However, Huang Shangwei's attack was too terrifying. Under the two people's fist lights intersecting, Jiang Chen's fist lights were completely obliterated. At the same time, a fist light tore through the void, forcefully bombarding Nayland Mayer's body. Poork! At this moment, Nayland Mayer vomited blood. Her physical body exploded, leaving only a soul behind. She was like a candle in the wind, about to be extinguished at any time. "You're courting death." Jiang Chun was furious. His eyes were bloodshot. His body was like a true dragon, shattering the sky. He ignored Huang Shangwei's attack and rushed in front of Nayland Mayer. Following that, his divine soul unfolded and took Nayland Mayer's soul into the myriad transformation heavenly lamp. Boom! Right at this moment, a fist light from Huang Shangwei landed, hitting Jiang Chun solidly, piercing through his glabella on the spot. His divine soul and soul were almost annihilated. "Without the war dance, what are you? In my eyes, you're ultimately an ant," Huang Shangwei said contemptuously. Previously, when the war dance was launched, Huang Shangwei was indeed shocked. But now, without the support of the war dance, Jiang Chun, Huang Shangwei, was not weak at all. "If she dies, not to mention you, the entire reincarnation sect will be buried with her," Jiang Chun said solemnly. Striking out with a palm, he struck the myriad transformation heavenly lamp far away. When Huang Shangwei saw the situation, a cold light flashed in his eyes, and he said, "Want to leave?" Who knew that Jiang Chun stopped? After sending out the myriad transformation heavenly lamp, he actually suddenly turned his head. His eyes were bloodshot as he said in a cold voice, "She's only left with her soul. Do you think I'll leave? Today you're going to die." "You?" Huang Shangwei was stunned for a moment. He really didn't expect that Jiang Chun, who didn't have the support of the war dance, would dare to stay. "You'll know once you try." Jiang Chun spoke softly. 3 wisps of primal chaos energy erupted from him. They seemed like 3 azure dragons that were circling around him. In the next moment, he took a step forward, and there seemed to be flowing light gathering under his feet. Golden lotuses bloomed all over the ground, and there was even the rumbling of the great path. Then, Jiang Chun struck out with his palm again. The inscriptions on his palm shone brightly. Talismans and formation runes appeared around him and in the void. Under this palm was a giant formation, and wherever it was a formation. "Array formation? Do you think you can contend against me with arrays? You're too naive." Huang Shangwei's face was full of disdain. He pointed his finger, and a profound light burst forth, constantly annihilating the formation patterns and inscriptions that Jiang Chun had condensed. In response, Jiang Chun didn't care. He continued to strike with his palm, and more formation patterns and inscriptions appeared. It was like a sky full of stars, crowding this part of the world. After a dozen breaths, Huang Shangwei's expression gradually turned serious. This was because there were more and more formation patterns around him, and it was difficult to destroy them all. Moreover, a few of the arrays had already taken shape, and they were all killing arrays. The aura of a few of the arrays made Huang Shangwei feel threatened. "If I kill you, all the arrays and inscriptions will disappear." Huang Shangwei charged over. He knew that if he wanted to destroy these arrays, he had to kill Jiang Chun first. However, due to Huang Shangwei's carelessness, several defensive arrays had already taken shape around Jiang Chun. When his attack landed, he couldn't destroy these defensive arrays for a while. At the same time, The killing arrays around him continued to take shape. As time passed, more and more arrays appeared, and they had already begun to operate. Buzz! Boom! Explosive sounds accompanied by rumbling sounds rang out continuously. This part of the world was changing color, as if doomsday had arrived. Rain of fire fell, and lightning was like a dragon. There was even an unknown force that turned into clouds that filled the sky. There was an extremely violent aura amidst the resplendent light. "You deserve to die," Jiang Chen whispered. His hand finally landed. At this moment, all of the formations exploded. Violent energy filled the surroundings and even drowned Huang Shang. Amidst the explosion, only Huang Shangwei's screams could be heard, as well as the sound of the great Tao collapsing. Jiang Chen stood proudly on the spot. He glanced at Huang Shangwei, who was still struggling. A trace of helplessness flashed across his eyes. Huang Shangwei was too strong. Jiang Chen knew that with his current strength, it would be difficult to kill him. Even now, it would be difficult to take Huang Shangwei's life. After a few breaths, Jiang Chen sighed and left with the ever-changing heavenly lamp. "Jiang Chen, you can't escape. Your body will be mine in the end." Half an incense stick of time later, Huang Shangwei broke free from the array, not a trace of injury on his body. He roared angrily, his eyes burning with anger. He wanted to find Jiang Chen's aura. However, with the ever-changing heavenly lamp protecting his body, Huang Shangwei couldn't find any traces of Jiang Chen at all. "Find him for me. Dig 3 feet into the ground. Dig up mountains and rivers. Find him for me. He is mine." Huang Shangwei roared, his voice in order. That day, the various great sects in Immortal Ancient Road took action, sending out large amounts of people. They searched between the mountains and rivers, entering the Forbidden Land. They were all searching for Jiang Chen's traces. Meanwhile, at this moment, inside an extinct volcano, Jiang Chen's body was covered in arrays and barriers. There was even the ever-changing heavenly lamp protecting his body, hiding his aura. He stared at the remnant soul in front of him, a trace of bloody tears flickering in his eyes. "Why did you come out?" Jiang Chen said softly. His voice was extremely low, as if it was trembling. However, this remnant soul didn't have any reaction, as if it was about to die. If Jiang Chen didn't use his true spirit to protect this remnant soul would have dissipated a long time ago. "How can I save you?" Jiang Chen sighed. Looking at Nayland Mayer, who only had a remnant soul left, his heart was filled with despair. Even though Jiang Chen had many methods at this moment, he was also helpless. With only a remnant soul left, even if an immortal came, he wouldn't be able to save her, right? "Wait! If it can be reincarnated." Suddenly, Jiang Chen's expression froze. If the Immortal Ancient Road was the road to the Yellow Springs, then, if he reached the end and sent Nayland Mayer's remnant soul into the cycle of reincarnation, would she be reborn? "This is the only way to save you." Jiang Chen's expression turned serious. He carefully put away Nayland Mayer's remnant soul and said, "This road to the Yellow Springs will eventually come to an end. Something happened to Boss. The outside world has gone crazy. Everyone on the Immortal Ancient Road is looking for Boss. Also, I heard that a charming woman is suspected to be dead. That woman can't be Boss's disciple, Nayland Mayer, right?" On this day, a few great deities also received the news. Their expressions were strange, and their bodies were trembling. They knew how protective Jiang Chen was, especially towards his own disciples. If that's really the case, this Immortal Ancient Road will probably be overturned by Boss, Bird Bade said in a low voice. Chapter 14:23. The Resplendent Stars. No matter how far away they were, no matter how much haze there was along the way, they could still be seen. For example, Jiang Chen. Although his cultivation wasn't high, the fighting strength he displayed was too terrifying. For many people on the Immortal Ancient Road, he was indeed a top furnace. Now, Huang Shangwei gave the order, and the entire Immortal Ancient Road was in an uproar, searching for Jiang Chen's traces everywhere. At the same time, several great virtues, even the rotten one, the 8 ancestors, and others were also secretly taking action, searching for Jiang Chun. Jiang Chun, as the #1 court master of the ancestral court, inherited the great thousand worlds heaven and earth Tao fate. If he died, the ancestral court would be shaken, and even the great thousand worlds fate would be affected. If he comes into being, the great thousand worlds might really be gone. The rotten one sighed. Who dares to touch my ancestral court's courtmaster? On this day, someone in the immortal ancient road spread the word, and there were even people who stood out, suppressing and killing many creatures on the immortal ancient road with an extremely powerful stance. Of course, there were also people who were killed, their bodies seized. We saw the court master. He's killing his own people. 10 days later, a piece of news spread out, shocking the creatures of the 3 great worlds. Someone saw with their own eyes that Jiang Chun was chasing after the creatures of the 3 great worlds. His methods were extremely vicious. This made everyone puzzled. Could it be that Jiang Chun had rebelled? Or could it be that Jiang Chun's body had already been possessed? At this moment, in a dark space, Jiang Chun was using a secret technique to seal Nayland Mayer's remnant soul. He didn't want Nayland Mayer's remnant soul to suffer the slightest bit of damage, so he had to seal it layer by layer, protecting it to a perfect extent. In this way, even if I have to go through a terrifying battle, I will still be able to protect a wisp of your remnant soul, Jiang Chun said softly, while looking at the remnant soul, which was covered with runes, and he felt bitter. Right at this moment, a figure suddenly charged in, and it actually disregarded the formations and restrictions here. Furthermore, he was able to find Jiang Chun. Jiang Chun was protected by the myriad change celestial lamp. It could conceal all auras. Even an immortal would not be able to find him. However, after seeing this person clearly, Jiang Chun couldn't help but feel relieved. Because this person was Jiang Chun's other physical body, Tianzong. The two of them were of the same origin, so it was normal for the Sky Sect to be able to find him easily. You haven't been possessed? This was the first thing Tianzong said when he saw Jiang Chun. When Jiang Chun heard that, he could not help being stunned. He had already stayed here for several days, yet he didn't encounter any creatures from the immortal ancient path. So how could he have been seized? After that, Tianzong told Jiang Chun about what had happened outside. After hearing this, Jiang Chun's expression became strange. Tianzong's expression was even more complicated. The two of them stared at each other. After more than 10 breaths, Tianzong shook his head and said, "I didn't do it." "Then, there's someone outside who looks exactly like us?" Jiang Chun said, "Then it can't be your physical body, right?" Tianzong muttered, but he couldn't be sure. After all, this immortal ancient path was too strange. Although the creatures here were dead souls, they also had physical bodies. About my 10 reincarnations. I heard some rumors before that there was a problem. Jiang Chun frowned and said, "It said that someone tampered with the path of reincarnation." "You mean it happened in the immortal ancient path?" Tianzong cried out in surprise. The immortal ancient path was also known as the Yellow Springs Path. At the end of the Yellow Springs was reincarnation. If those rumors were true, then the place where Jiang Chun's reincarnation had an accident was here. Moreover, all of this might be related to that him in the immortal ancient path. "Find him. Ask him clearly," Jiang Chun said in a low voice. His eyes shone brightly as he stared at Tianzong with vigilance. Tianzong had always wanted to turn the tables and replace Jiang Chun as the main body. And now, another suspected physical body had appeared. With Tianzong's thoughts and methods, he would most likely take action. After all, if Tianzong merged with the other physical body, he really might surpass Jiang Chun and become the main body. "You're too weak. If you can give up the position of the main body, I can help you sweep everything," Tianzong said. Then he pointed at Nayland Mayer's remnant soul and said, "If you were strong enough, your disciple wouldn't have become like this." "I've always been getting stronger," Jiang Chun said in a low voice. The conversation between the two was naturally the same as before. They parted on bad terms. Then, The two of them came out and began to search for traces of the other Jiang Chun. More than 10 days later, on a mountain peak on the path to immortality, a great battle erupted. No one knew who was fighting whom because this battle was far too terrifying. Violent energies were wreaking havoc, and even supernatural beings couldn't get close to it. Until a day later, the battle ended. Only broken mountains and rivers were left, as well as Tao techniques and laws that had not yet stabilized. Who's fighting here? It's the same person's aura? Could it be that we sensed wrong? That there's no battle here, but someone's undergoing a tribulation? At this moment, many people hurried over. When they investigated the situation, they were dumbfounded. Because there were no other living beings' auras here. Not only the aura, even the source was the same. Jiang Chun is injured. Oh my God, what did I just see? Jiang Chun is chasing after Jiang Chun. A day later, someone saw a black shooting star streaking across the sky. Upon closer inspection, it was Jiang Chun. Soon, another purple shooting star flashed by. If one took a closer look, one would find that it was also Jiang Chun's face. However, after only 10 breaths of time, everyone saw another Jiang Chun chasing after him. This caused everyone in the world to be dumbfounded. 3 Jiang Chun were chasing after each other? Tianzong, let him go. That's my physical body. Bullsh *T. I want to be the original body. That's my physical body. At this moment, Jiang Chun and Tianzong were almost side by side. In front of them, the Jiang Chun on the path to immortality was glaring at them angrily. The battle on the mountain peak before was caused by the 3 of them. The result was obvious. The Jiang Chun on the path to immortality was severely injured by the 2 of them. They chased him all the way here and finally intercepted him. We're all on the same side. Why do you have to do this? At this moment, the Jiang Chun on the path to immortality smiled and spoke in a seemingly relaxed manner. Killing me won't do you any good. We won't kill you. We just want to merge with you. Jiang Chun said in a low voice, You're my previous body. What's wrong with me merging with you in this life? What? Unexpectedly, the Jiang Chun on the path to immortality was confused. He pointed at himself and said, You think I'm your previous body? Are you sure you're not mistaken? Chapter 14:24. Jiang Chun didn't know what she was talking about. You're not my physical body? Tianzong, who was standing next to them, wore an odd expression. He seemed to have realized something. Frowning, he even stopped Jiang Chun, who was about to attack. He said maybe he really isn't the body of your previous life. If it's not my physical body from my previous life, then what is it? Jiang Chun was puzzled. I'm a wisp of your soul. The other Jiang Chun said, If you kill me, your soul will be incomplete forever, and it will be impossible for you to return. If I die, you can forget about becoming an immortal for the rest of your life. Jiang Chun's expression changed involuntarily. Next to him, Tianzong smiled bitterly. Tianzong covered his eyes and smiled bitterly. Not only can we not kill him, but we also have to protect him. If he dies, both of us will be finished. Why would a wisp of my soul appear here? Jiang Chun was puzzled. To be precise, I'm a wisp of your soul when you were Tian Hong. Tian Hong said, When I entered this reincarnation after death, I was plotted against. Most of my soul was reincarnated, but I stayed behind. Do you know why you can't return? It's not because you didn't merge with your physical body, but because I've been trapped here. Tian Hong smiled bitterly, and he told Jiang Chun some of his old secrets. Back then, Jiang Chun died as Tian Hong and was arranged by the Lord of the Ancient Underworld to enter the road to the Yellow Springs. That was not the first time the Lord of the Ancient Underworld had arranged it. The Lord of the Ancient Underworld had also helped a lot in the previous reincarnations. But for some reason, something happened to Tian Hong in his previous life. At that time, the Lord of the Ancient Underworld disappeared, and no one knew where he went. This also caused changes to the road to the Yellow Springs. Most souls that entered here could not reach the end and could not enter reincarnation. In that lifetime, Tian Hong had experienced a narrow escape from death, risking the risk of having his soul scattered before barely managing to enter samsara. However, after that life, the so-called 10 reincarnations were incomplete and difficult to carry out. Because the most important part of his soul was left here, this part of the soul contained all the secrets. The Lord of the ancient underworld has always known that I'm here. He's trying to find me, and I'm trying to find a way to leave this place. Tian Hong said, "Now, a large number of otherworldly beings have entered this place. I want to possess their bodies and return to life." "You can return," Jiangchen said. "Since you are a part of my soul, why don't you return?" "Return? If I return, everything I have will disappear. At that time, I will fulfill your wish." "I don't want to disappear. I want to be myself." Hearing Tianhong's words, Jiangchen could not help but look at Tianzong. The two of them had similar thoughts. Tianzong wanted to replace him, but Tianhong wanted to be himself. "If I fuse with you, will my past memories return?" Jiangchen asked, his eyes shining brightly. When Tianhong heard this, he did not hide anything. He nodded and said, "Yes, why? You want to fuse with me by force? Do you think I won't resist?" Jiangchen shook his head. He knew that the fusion of souls was too important. If he was not careful, even his own soul would be destroyed. Moreover, Jiangchen felt that he was doing well. So what if he lost this part of his soul? He could still be invincible. Of course, it would be best if he could remember his past. "I won't force you. As for your life and death, I don't care." Jiangchen said directly, "You want to be yourself, so do I. In the eyes of many, I'm just the reincarnation of the first life. In their eyes, I'm not Jiangchen, but the first life." Jiangchen said softly, with a hint of helplessness in his words. Perhaps Jiangchen, Tianzong, and Tianhong were all the same. They were all living under the shadow of the first life. Then we'll all be ourselves. What's wrong with that? Tianhong said, not suspecting Jiangchen. After all, they were one. If Jiangchen was lying, Tianzong and Tianhong would be able to sense it. "Speaking of which, you know so much. Is the Lord of the ancient underworld good or bad for me?" Jiangchen asked. When he said this, Tianhong's expression turned serious. He shook his head and said, "He might have been good in the past, but something big must have happened during the period when he disappeared. Now he wants me dead. He also wants you dead. He wants the 3 worlds to be destroyed. He's been looking for me. He wants to kill me and completely cut off your hope of returning. Unfortunately, I have all my memories and have many methods. If I don't want to be found, he won't be able to find me even if he excavates the path to the immortal ancient." At this point, Tianhong could not help but look at the sky as if he could see beyond the world. He fell silent. After a few breaths, he sighed and said, "Perhaps he has already fallen into darkness and allied with the source of darkness. If he can't return to the immortal world, he will go to a world that can contend with the immortal world. That world is the world born from the source of darkness." It was obvious that Tianhong was talking about some new secrets. Even old monsters who had lived for several eras might not know about them. In fact, even Ro might not know about these things. If the Lord of the ancient underworld has really fallen into darkness, then the outside world now. Jiangchen's expression changed drastically. His entire back was covered in cold sweat. One had to know that after they entered the path to the immortal ancient, there were no experts guarding the ancestral court, and Wakako and the others were still in the ancestral court. If the ancient underworld reappeared and wreaked havoc in the world, would the ancestral court be spared? At this thought, Jiangchen's heart became heavier. He stared at Tianhong and said in a low voice, "Do you know of any way to leave this place quickly?" "There's no other way," Tianhong said. "If the creatures on the path to the immortal ancient want to leave, there's only one way, and that is to return to life after possession. As for you people from the outside world, you can only walk to the end of the path to the immortal ancient. There's an everlasting teleportation array there that can allow you to leave this place." "There's no other way?" Jiangchen asked. He couldn't wait any longer. If the ancestral court was destroyed in Wakako and the others died, then what was the meaning of everything he had done in this life? People lived not only for themselves, but also for the people around them. If everyone around him died, and he was the only one left, watching the sunset alone, what was the difference between that and death? Perhaps you can sneak in, Tianhong said. He stared at Jiang Chun with a strange expression and said, "Didn't your old sweetheart, the Empress, also sneak in back then?" "Sneak in? How do we sneak in?" Jiang Chun asked hurriedly. "This seems to have to find a reincarnation hunter," Tianhong said. Chapter 14:25. Reincarnation Hunters. Jiang Chun had heard of them many times, and he had also met them many times. In Jiang Chun's heart, the reason why the Empress was unwilling to come out was because of the reincarnation hunter. Now, Jiang Chun had never thought that he would have to deal with the reincarnation hunter. If I make a deal with the reincarnation hunter, will I be like the Empress in the future? Jiang Chun asked. Jiang Chun knew that the Empress was very strong, but even someone as strong as the Empress did not dare to confront the reincarnation hunter head-on. From this point, Jiang Chun knew that the reincarnation hunter was not simple. Although the Empress was called the Empress, her real cultivation was definitely not at the Emperor realm. She was a woman who had been praised by the invincible realm, an existence that surpassed the invincible realm. With such strength, she did not dare to contend with the reincarnation hunter. Thinking about it carefully, the reincarnation hunter's strength was definitely not ordinary. If he made a deal with the reincarnation hunter, would Jiang Chun really be like the Empress in the future and not come out? Not to mention this world. Even in the outside 3 big worlds, the immortal world and the unknown world, the reincarnation hunter's position will never be shaken. That is the sky. That is the earth. That is the last dignity of this world, the great Tao. No one can touch it. Tianhong said very seriously and warned Jiang Chun that no matter what happened in the future, he must give face to the reincarnation hunter. That was giving face to the great Tao. "Tell me, how do you make a deal?" Jiang Chun said. Jiang Chun was really anxious. He was worried that something would happen to the ancestral court, and even more worried that something would happen to the entire Great Thousand World. In the past, the Great Thousand World had destroyed the 6 realms. Jiang Chun hated the Great Thousand World. But now, he also understood that they all came from the same source, but their standpoints were different. There was no right or wrong. Even the people of the 6 realms were also from the ancestral realm and a part of the vast, Great Thousand World. Home. This simple word was worth protecting with everything. Even if this family had enemies and hatred that could not be resolved, Jiang Chun was still willing to pay the price for this family. Recite the cycle of reincarnation in your heart, and they will appear. Tianhong said, "It's just that this deal concerns your entire life. Whether it's right or wrong, life or death, it's all your choice." "Do I have a choice?" Jiang Chun laughed bitterly. Then, his expression turned serious as he said, "I'm willing to do what my heart desires." As soon as he finished speaking, Jiang Chun closed his eyes. He looked dignified like a real god. In his heart, he was shouting about reincarnation, thinking about reincarnation, and singing about reincarnation. This was a voice that came from the heart. Jiang Chun knew that without reincarnation, his path would have been severed a long time ago. Hearing the call of the common people, "We have come to decide your life and death. Samsara is all life. Everything returns to the Tao." Half a day later, a sound like a great bell rang out. No one else could hear it except for Jiang Chun. At this moment, Jiang Chun's face paled. Facing this voice, he suddenly felt like he was nothing more than an ant. The person had yet to appear, but the voice could suppress everything. Jiang Chun even had an illusion that even if a perfected immortal came, he would not be able to withstand the angry roar of this voice. "They're here? You become stronger when you meet the strong, and weaker when you meet the weak. With your strength, the reincarnation hunters that came this time are rare." Tianhong was shocked. He had many memories and knew very well what the reincarnation hunters represented. His body was trembling because he was now a remnant soul, and he was also under the jurisdiction of reincarnation. "It's you?" After a few breaths, a blurry figure appeared. Smoke lingered around his body. It was like immortal chi, but also like ghost chi. He was in the light, but also seemed to be in the dark. He gave off an ethereal feeling. This feeling was very strange. It was as if this person did not exist in this world, but he appeared in front of you. Just one. It's over. It's over. Tian Hong was talking to himself. He knew a lot of things, and he knew that if only one reincarnation hunter appeared, it meant that this was a death sentence. Jiang Chun did not know this at all. He was very respectful to the reincarnation hunter. After all, he had a request. Jiang Chun lowered his head, cupped his hands, and said directly, "Let's make a deal. Let me leave this place." You should be here," the reincarnation hunter said. Then his expression changed, and he said seriously, "No, you should be dead. Reincarnation did not accept you, and heaven and earth did not exist. Now, you dare to summon me? I'm here today to make a deal. Let me leave this place." Jiang Chun said again, "Do you know that your life is over? You should die." The reincarnation hunter said in a deep voice, "I said, let's make a deal today. Let me leave this place." Jiang Chun said again, "You should die. What did you say today?" The reincarnation hunter said. Before he could finish, Jiang Chun suddenly raised his head, and his eyes flashed coldly. "Lower your head. I have a request. It's fine if you don't agree. If you keep this attitude and want me to die, then I won't die," Jiang Chun said coldly. Boom! As soon as he said that, Jiang Chun unsheathed his sword. The ever-changing heavenly torch burned, and a sword ray rushed out like chaos, cutting the reincarnation hunter in half on the spot. "You should die." When the reincarnation hunter disappeared, his angry roar shook the surroundings, and the heavenly punishment and heavenly wrath fell together. But all of this was just a drizzle to Jiang Chun. After the heavenly punishment and heavenly wrath disappeared, Jiang Chun stood proudly on the spot. He stared at Tian Hong with a faint smile and said, "Looks like this deal is a failure. You are in big trouble." Tian Hong looked nervous and said, "That's the heavenly Tao. You killed the heavenly Tao. He wants me to die, but I don't want to die. So, I can only kill him." Jiang Chun said softly, "Who am I doing this for if I'm doing it for myself? From now on, your cultivation will stop." Tian Hong sighed and said, "You won't understand the meaning behind this. From now on, your cultivation will not be able to break through, and your path to immortality will also be cut off. If the path to immortality is cut off, then I'll open another path. The path is under one's feet. It's walked, not talked. I have a heart." The corners of Jiang Chun's mouth curled up slightly. He seemed to be smiling, but also seemed to be crying. No one knew what he was feeling now. After a few breaths, Jiang Chun waved his hand and sighed. "You guys go. We'll all be ourselves. What do you plan to do?" Tian Zong asked. "Walk my own path." Jiang Chun focused and said, "Aren't you also walking your own path?" After saying that, Jiang Chun looked at Tian Hong and asked, "Aren't you the same?" At this moment, the two of them fell silent. After a few breaths, the three of them looked at each other and laughed wildly. Yes, they were of the same origin, and their wills were the same. What thoughts were different? Go, walk your own path. Chapter 14:26. Born as a human, born as a spirit. All living beings in the world were themselves. Even though they were similar, they were not the same. Jiang Chun could understand Tianzong and Tian Hong's thoughts. He did not force them. This was because he also wanted to be himself. Next, the three of them discussed for a while. The most important thing now was to find a suitable physical body for Tian Hong so that he could return to Yang. If Tian Hong could not leave the path of a mortal ancient, it would be a hidden danger for Jiang Chun and Tianzong. After all, this was the territory of the ancient underworld, and the lord of the ancient underworld had always wanted to kill Tian Hong. If anything happened to Tian Hong, Jiang Chun and Tianzong would more or less be implicated. The creatures of the boundless world. If they are not suitable for your physical body, we can't do anything. Jiang Chun's lips curled up slightly and said, The people of the three realms of yin and yang are suitable. But I can't just choose randomly. The physical body is fundamental. I must choose the best one. Tian Hong said in a low voice. If I could just find a random physical body, I would have taken over it long ago. Let's ask around first. There are many people entering the path of a mortal ancient this time. There must be a suitable one for you, Jiang Chen said. Then, the three of them got up and walked together. Along the way, many people saw the three Jiang Chen. They were all shocked and doubtful. Some people wanted to attack, but they could sense that Tian Hong's aura belonged to the path of a mortal ancient. They thought that Jiang Chen had been captured by Tian Hong. Therefore, the creatures on the path of a mortal ancient did not dare to act rashly. Just like that, the three of them walked all the way and nothing happened. However, in the end, someone spread the news and sent Jiang Chen's whereabouts to Huang Shangwei. A few days later, Huang Shangwei came in front of a cliff. Kill him. At this moment, Jiang Chen and the other two did not even bother to talk nonsense. They directly attacked together. The power of the three of them working together was obvious, especially Tianzong. This guy was already extremely powerful. Now that he had Jiang Chen and Tian Hong's help, he could suppress everyone. In just half a day, Huang Shangfang ran away. He couldn't beat him, but Jiang Chen and the others couldn't kill him either. This guy was too strong. He was a big shot from the reincarnation sect, and his cultivation had reached the acme of perfection. It would be too difficult for such a person to kill him. If the three of us work together, it seems like we can do whatever we want in the immortal ancient road. Tian Hong teased. What do you mean? Do you want to go on an adventure? There are many treasures in this immortal ancient road. We can't come here for nothing. We should take something back. Tianzong nodded. After saying that, the two of them actually looked at each other, as if they could read each other's mind. Jiang Chen also covered his face. The three of them were all from the same source, so how could he not know what these two guys were thinking? Of course, what the two of them were thinking was actually what Jiang Chen was thinking. It's my first time here, so I'm here to pay my respects. Half a day later, under Tian Hong's enthusiastic guidance, the three of them arrived at a relatively large sect. Tian Hong? You're a creature from the immortal ancient road. Why are you standing on their side? You're courting death. This sect was called the Mystic Moon Sect. There were a few transcendents overseeing the sect, and it was considered relatively strong in this area. However, in the eyes of Jiang Chen and the others, what were mere transcendents? Apart from Tian Hong, which of the present Jiang Chen and Tianzong couldn't contend with a road-breaking powerhouse. What's the point of saying it so nicely? What do you mean by paying respects? We're here to rob. Tianzong was very direct. Hand over your treasures. Otherwise, we'll flatten the Mystic Moon Sect. Just the three of you? What a joke. Where did a few outsiders get the courage? Within the Mystic Moon Sect, a few transcendents came out. As they spoke, they already attacked. However, what awaited them was a sword ray that was like chaos, directly cutting these people in half at the waist, killing them on the spot. Hand it over. Do you want to hand it over yourselves, or do we have to take it ourselves? Jiang Chen and the others were very arrogant. They were not afraid of anything at all. At this moment, how would the Mystic Moon Sect dare to make a sound? The transcendents overseeing the sect were all dead. How would they dare to resist? Just like that, Jiang Chen and the others earned their first bucket of gold in the Mystic Moon Sect. Next, under the enthusiastic lead of Tian Hong, they headed north all the way to the end of the immortal ancient road. Along the way, all the sects, families, and forces that they encountered could not escape the evil clutches of these three Jiang Chen. However, 10 days later, when Jiang Chen and the others arrived at the center of the immortal ancient road, they discovered that some of the sects here had already been visited. Especially in these sects that had been visited, not even a blade of grass or a tree was left. They were just short of moving their mountain gates away. We seem to have met an old acquaintance. In front of a mountain gate that had been ransacked, Jiang Chen had a strange expression. This was because he saw the words "great might" and "great virtue" written on a huge rock in front of the mountain gate. It can't be those people from your family, right? Tianzong's expression was not normal either. Looking at the words carefully, they were written crookedly. Especially on this stone tablet, there seemed to be a few stains of urine. Tianzong really could not think of anyone who could do such a thing and use great might and great virtue as their name. Other than those few great virtues, who else could it be? Good fellow, stealing my business. Chase after them. Jiang Chun was anxious. Wherever those few great virtues went, not even a blade of grass would grow. If they followed behind those few great virtues, they would not even be able to eat a fart. Then, Jiang Chun and the others hurried on their way day and night. Finally, when they were nearing the end of the immortal ancient road, they met a few great virtues. Looking around, there was a basin in front of them. The surroundings were barren, but at this moment, there were many people standing there. Especially in the center of the basin, there was a crack, and there stood a few powerhouses at the end of the road. Damn it! How did they know the location of the old ancestor's ancient tomb? The old ancestor was buried here to absorb the chi of heaven and earth to strengthen our descendants. If something happens to the old ancestor, our chi of heaven and earth will come to an end. The powerhouses at the end of the road were roaring angrily, and their faces were very gloomy. Are they robbing tombs again? It must be Mu Yud leading them. That guy likes to do that. Jiang Chun smiled bitterly. The three of them quietly hid in the distance and used the myriad transformations heavenly lamp to hide their auras. They were very curious and wanted to see what those great virtues could do in the ancient tomb. F***CK. The corpse came back to life. F***CK. It's an old ghost. 3 days later, a few screams came from below the crack. Then, the divine dragon swung its tail and rushed out of the crack, running away without looking back. A few breaths later, a vermilion bird and a 9 netherworld phoenix rushed out, rolling and crawling. Their faces were pale, as if they had encountered something terrifying below. Chapter 14:27. 3 of them ran out, their faces full of fear. It was obvious that they had encountered something extremely terrifying in the tomb. After a few breaths, the other virtuous beings also ran out, their faces pale. "Where's Mu Yud?" Jiang Chun asked, puzzled. The virtuous beings had run out, leaving only Mu Yud. Around them, the experts at the end of the path had ugly expressions. They wanted to chase after the virtuous beings, but they were even more worried about the tomb below the crack. That was the tomb of their patriarch, and it was related to the fate of their entire sect. If something happened here and their fate was cut off, their sect might be implicated. They might even meet with misfortune and be destroyed in the end. What's the point of establishing a sect here when they're just a bunch of dead souls? Tianzong snapped. The point is they're already dead souls. Why are they still buried? What's buried here? Jiang Chun asked, puzzled. Tianhong chuckled when he heard that. He pointed at the crack in the distance and said, "What's buried there isn't a dead soul, but a living being. Just like all of you, it came from another world. After it died, it didn't even have a soul, leaving only its body behind. It was buried here." Tianhong frowned and muttered. It said that this living being has a great background. It entered the path of immortality willingly. It seems like it has a deep relationship with the ancient underworld. A deep relationship with the ancient underworld? Could it be that it died here on purpose? Jiang Chun was stunned. If that was the case, then the ancient underworld's tricks were a little confusing. Damn it! At that moment, Mu Yud's voice came from below the crack. Then, he rushed out covered in blood. He even had a bloody arm in his hand. It looked very scary. "It's you, you bastard! Tomb robbers!" At that moment, the experts at the end of the path roared angrily. One of them pointed a finger, and a ray of light fell, as if it was going to suppress the universe. The surrounding space cracked, and a rain of flowers fell from the sky. A strong wind blew. Scram! Mu Yud narrowed his eyes and swung his blood-stained arm. Black mist rose and shattered the attack of the cultivator at the end of the path. Even the rain of flowers that filled the sky disappeared. What? What is this? At this moment, everyone cried out in alarm. That wasn't Mu Yud's power. but his blood-stained arm. It was hard to imagine whose arm this was. It actually contained such power. What kind of person was the owner of this arm? It's the Patriarch's arm. Damn it! Not only did you rob the tomb, you even destroyed my ancestor's body? Someone reacted and rushed over with a roar, wanting to take back the arm. When Muyuda saw this, he didn't run away. Instead, he stood near the crack with a cold expression. He pointed at the bottom of the crack and said, "You are in trouble." "What do you mean? What's going on down there?" one of the breakers asked in a low voice, stopping the others who were about to attack. The other breakers also had serious expressions on their faces, because they could feel a terrifying power slowly awakening. This power was very strange. It wasn't divine power, nor was it immortal power. It didn't seem to belong to this world. Someone from the world of darkness is buried here, and you call him the Patriarch. He's not dead. He's just absorbing your wishes. Now he's about to rise. This path is about to be cut off. Muyuda's expression was extremely dark. He thought that this was the tomb of someone from the path of immortality, but who would have thought that the one buried here wasn't a person at all? The aura of that living being was the same as the aura of the source of darkness. It didn't come from this plane. Puny world, puny living beings. Your purpose here is to be used by me. Now, everything is over. The great era is about to begin, and this era is about to end. At this moment, a majestic voice came from below the crack. The voice was intimidating, but it also gave people a feeling of extreme disgust. A few breaths later, a man flew out from below the crack. His black hair danced in the wind, and his black burial robe looked even more demonic. He was missing an arm. His gaze fell on Muyuda with a hint of doubt in his eyes. "Who are you? How did you injure my body?" the man asked. "Me? I'm the Lord of the 4 underworlds, the Lord of the underworld." Muyuda's body was trembling. He was scared. He didn't leave earlier because he wanted to see this man clearly. He wanted to figure out what this man's goal was. Now Muyuda was regretting it. He didn't even have a chance to live against such a man. If he knew this would happen, he would have run away. "I see," the man said with a sigh. The man said softly with a relieved expression. "The place closest to my world has a power that is extremely similar to our world. No wonder it can injure me." "I knew it. The source of darkness, the world of darkness, is that world." Muyuda seemed to know something. His eyes were full of hostility. But soon, Muyuda tore open the void and tried to escape. He knew better than anyone where the man came from and what kind of power he had. On the other hand, many of the creatures on the path of a mortal ancient were kneeling on the ground and worshipping the man. They were even chanting, "Ancestor." Muyuda felt like laughing. These people had no idea how terrifying the ancestor they were talking about was. "Leave the thing behind, and you can leave," the man said softly. He stretched out his hand slowly. It seemed slow, but in truth, he had grabbed Muyuda in an instant. He wanted his arm back. "Don't even think about it. Your body is incomplete, so you won't be able to return to your peak." Muyuda snarled in anger. He was struggling. He even threw the arm in Jiang Qin's direction, shouting loudly, "Take it. Run away. F***KME. I don't want it." Jiang Qin was shocked. Muyuda was not human. Would the man let them go if they took the arm? With Jiang Qin's current strength, it would be impossible for him to escape from this man's grasp. But Jiang Qin knew the importance of the arm. Although he said he didn't want it, he still caught it and ran away without looking back. However, it was a pity that in front of this man, Earth shrinking was so laughable. In just 3 breaths' time, a finger fell, and Jiang Qin was suppressed in the void, even though he was still far away, and he couldn't move at all. At the same time, the arm was pulled back by the finger. "How dare you?" However, it was at this moment that an angry voice came from the depths of Jiang Qin's soul. Chapter 14:28. A furious roar shook the surrounding Dao arts to the point that ripples appeared. The finger that pressed on Jiang Qin's body broke inch by inch. Black blood spurted out like a tide. At this moment, everyone was shocked. They stared blankly at Jiang Chun, who was lying on the ground. Their eyes were full of horror. What's going on? A furious roar actually shattered the finger of the invincible man. Who did this? Was it Jiang Chun? Who is it? At this moment, the man's face was filled with anger. He stared at Jiang Chun as if he wanted to see through Jiang Chun's nature. It's me! The roar sounded again. At the same time, a black shadow appeared on Jiang Chun's body. It seemed to come from ancient times, but also from the future. The shadow appeared and covered Jiang Chun's body. His eyes suddenly opened. His pupils were pitch black, but there was a scarlet light flickering in the depths. I'll lead the way. At this moment, Jiang Chun whispered. To be precise, the person who spoke was not Jiang Chun, but the lamp-bearer. Previously, the lamp-bearer was sealed and suppressed by the chaotic aura. Unexpectedly, he came out today. At this moment, Jiang Chun was conscious. He could feel the thoughts of the lamp-bearer and could also feel the power of the lamp-bearer. This power was unparalleled. When it was added to his body, Jiang Chun felt invincible. However, at this moment, Jiang Chun could not speak. His physical body was controlled by the lamp-bearer. It's you! You traitor! The man's eyes were filled with ferocity. He stared at Jiang Chun and said in a deep voice, Back then, my world let you go first to inquire about the news. I didn't expect you to betray me. I've been to this world. I live in this world. I love every blade of grass and tree in this world. I'm different from you. You want to destroy the world for the so-called great harmony, but I hope exists. It's all for the great harmony. Our ideals are different. The lamp-bearer kept speaking. His voice was loud and carried his love for this world. He had always been protecting this world, protecting that one person, and that person had awakened him from the darkness, allowed him to see the light, and allowed him to escape from that dark world. And that person was none other than Jiang Chun. At this moment, Jiang Chun already knew about the lamp-bearer through his thoughts. The lantern-bearer had died a long time ago, leaving only a wisp of his soul attached to the myriad change heavenly lamp. If Jiang Chun hadn't cultivated the soul, raising demonic technique, and coincidentally awakened the lamp-bearer would have remained dormant. If you repent now, I can still spare you, the man said coldly. The wish of our world is the wish of the myriad worlds. What's wrong with washing everything clean and creating a glorious and clean world? We are darkness, but without light, how can there be darkness? When all light disappears, our darkness will be the so-called light. At this moment, the surroundings were completely silent. Only the conversation between the man and the lamp-bearer could be heard. They didn't make a move, as if they were both afraid of each other. The Dark Grandmaster has already appeared, and now I have also awakened. Do you think that in this world, in this plane, in the absence of immortals, who can stop us? Return, step into the darkness together. Use the darkness to witness the eternal light. The lamp-bearer fell silent. He didn't hesitate, nor did he want to be like the darkness again. He was thinking about how to suppress and kill the other party. After more than 10 breaths, the lamp-bearer touched his chest and asked softly, Do you trust me? Jiang Chun couldn't speak, but he still told the lamp-bearer through his soul that he was willing to gamble everything today. The world of the great harmony in your heart is the world I want. The lamp-bearer sighed. The darkness in his eyes dissipated, and in its place was an expanse of light and raging fire. At this moment, the lamp-bearer punched out. The fist radiance was vast and mighty like the sun. It was entirely reddish gold, and snow-white lotus flowers bloomed under his feet. Under this fist, heaven and earth changed color. Even the entire immortal ancient road was shaking, as if it was going to collapse from this fist. Suppress. However, the voice of the Lord of the ancient hell suddenly sounded. The immortal ancient road was densely covered with runes. The sun, moon, and stars reversed. Even the Tao was flowing in reverse. Obviously, the Lord of the ancient hell was worried that the immortal ancient road would collapse. He was outside the world, using a secret technique to strengthen the immortal ancient road. At the same time, black light burst out from the man's eyes, piercing through the clouds and the dense fog. Everywhere it passed, everything was annihilated. In the end, the black light collided with the fist radiance. With a shocking explosion, the dazzling light covered everything. When the explosion and the light dissipated, the man and Jiang Chun could no longer be seen. At this moment, everyone was stunned. Could it be that the two of them died together? Lead the way. You are still alive? I am not dead either. Let's see who reaches the end of reincarnation first. Let's see who leaves the Yellow Springs Road first. After a few breaths, the man's voice sounded, but it gradually faded away. Obviously, both of them were not dead. They had left. The lamp-bearer's voice did not sound. At this moment, he was riding Jiang Chen's body into the void. Then, the lamp-bearer's figure appeared. This time, he had a physical body. He looked like a scholar. His face was slightly pale, and his eyebrows were delicate. However, the brilliance in his eyes could not be concealed. Jiang Chun and him looked at each other. For a moment, neither of them knew what to say. After a few breaths, the lamp-bearer suddenly smiled and said, I am called Lead the Way. This is not my real name. My real name comes from darkness. I don't want to mention it. My name in this life is Jiang Chun, Jiang Chun said softly. Do you have any questions? The lamp-bearer asked. No. Jiang Chun shook his head. Now, he only wanted to be himself. As for the secrets of prehistory and his previous lives, he did not want to know them. Since you don't want to ask, then don't ask. The lamp-bearer said. He walked in front of Jiang Chun and patted his shoulders, saying, You have to do your best. In the end, this world still depends on you to save it. I have always been doing my best. My footsteps have never stopped. Jiang Chun whispered. Then, Jiang Chun seemed to have thought of something and said, There is indeed a question. Oh, let's hear it. The lamp-bearer said, The world of darkness. What kind of world is it? Jiang Chun asked. Hearing this, the lamp-bearer was stunned for a moment. Then, he smiled wryly. After a few breaths, he looked into the distance and pointed with his finger. He said with emotion, The world of darkness is the same as here. There are mountains, rivers, cultivators, mortals, everything. There's also sunshine, smiles, blood, and passion there. Then a hint of sadness flashed in the lamp-bearer's eyes, and he said, But I don't know when it started. It seems that after that wisp of black fog passed through the boundary, my world changed. Chapter 14:29. The lamp-bearer remembered very clearly that when a wisp of black mist entered their world, the entire world changed. The mountains and rivers were still the same, the living beings were still the same, and the Tao techniques were still the same. However, the hearts of the living beings in the world changed. Benevolence, love, kindness, everything disappeared. There was only constant war and constant slaughter. Since then, the entire world had changed. It had completely changed. Whenever he recalled those things, the lamp-bearer would feel an inexplicable fear. What kind of power was that? It actually changed the heart of the entire world. The lamp-bearer also guessed that someone was secretly harming them. But who on earth had such power? One had to know that the world the lamp-bearer was in was not weaker than the immortal world. Everything is gone. At that time, I was sent into the great world to gather information. In the end, I met you. The lamp-bearer said, You were like a ray of light that purified the darkness in my heart and allowed me to return to the side of light. However, it was also after that my physical body collapsed and my soul was incomplete. I could only stay in the myriad change, heavenly lamp. The world reincarnates. Who would have thought that I would be able to return in this life? Jiang Chun listened quietly. He knew that the lamp-bearer had a lot of pain in his heart. At this moment, he was narrating. He did not disturb him and continued to listen. After a long time, the lamp-bearer laughed awkwardly and said, You've said too much. It's fine. Jiang Chun shook his head. His eyes were bright as he said, It's time to go. Yes, it's time to go back. The lamp-bearer nodded. Then, he turned into a shadow and returned to Jiang Chen's soul. He would not be separated from Jiang Chun for the time being. If he encountered that man, without the lamp-bearer's power, Jiang Chen would undoubtedly die. Next, Jiang Chun began to gather the people of Ancestral Court. In the end, they began to set off, rushing towards the end of the path to Immortal Ancient. Along the way, the bloody battle did not stop. The creatures of the path to Immortal Ancient seemed to have gone crazy. They continuously attacked them, wanting to seize their bodies. Fortunately, Jiang Chun was now very strong. With the lamp bearer's protection, the creatures of the path to Immortal Ancient could not do anything to them. In comparison, the living beings of the three realms of Yin and Yang were in a rather miserable state. They had lost more than half of their men and horses, and many of the Broken Road's end-level experts had died as well. Some of them had even been possessed. When everyone was still a short distance away from the Immortal Ancient Path, only a third of the Yin-Yang Three Realms creatures remained. Return to the sun. What a great fortune! From now on, I will no longer enter the cycle of reincarnation. Many people on Immortal Ancient's path already returned to life. They didn't need to reach the end of the reincarnation path, directly tearing through the void and leaving. This was a type of rule and also a type of order. As long as they could seize a physical body, they could leave. I finally reached the end. 10 days later, Jiang Chen's group arrived at the end of the Immortal Ancient Road. In front of him was an arched door made of limestone. On the other side of the arched door, he could see the three great worlds. However, right at this moment, streaks of light scattered down, passing through the various great worlds. At the same time, the sky outside became incomparably resplendent, but there were sparkling raindrops that fell. Immortal Qi covered everything. Vaguely, one could see immortals weeping in the endless sky. What was that? Heaven's wail? It doesn't look like it. Heaven's wail is a rain of blood. But what is this? Immortal rain? Everyone was puzzled. This kind of scene had never appeared since ancient times. It was as if the immortal world had merged with this world. Immortal Qi covered everything. No, it's an immortal who has fallen. Suddenly, the lamp-bearer's voice sounded in Jiang Chen's mind. He saw a woman fall in the void. A spear had pierced through her body, and her blood dyed the world red. The immortal Qi in this woman's body was flowing away, her life aura already dissipating. Only a resplendent symbol pulsed in front of her. That was the immortal fate. Becoming a deity had a divine core, and becoming an immortal naturally also had the immortal fate. An immortal had fallen, but the immortal fate was still there. This was to find a successor for itself. Dead? Rower is dead. Jiang Chen saw this. His expression was gloomy, and even his heart was twitching. Rower was a genuine immortal. Back then, there were a total of 6 people who came to the lower realm, and she was one of them. But who would have thought that Rower, who had lived for countless eras, would actually die in battle? She was killed by the source of darkness. That guy is too strong. The lamp bearer sighed. Back then, it was the human emperor and the demon emperor, as well as the luck of the ancient heavenly court, that sealed it. Now Rower alone is naturally not a match. It's normal for her to die in battle. Hearing this, Jiang Chen's eyes flickered with an unknown light. He looked at the people behind him, struggling in his heart. After a few breaths, he suddenly turned around and looked at the group of people from the ancestral court. If I let you stay here, are you willing? When these words came out, the people from the ancestral court could not help but be a little confused. Let them stay here? What for? With their physical bodies, they could not stay on this Yellow Springs path forever? You are worried about us? Rotten said what Jiang Chen was thinking. Even Roller had fallen. Now, the outside world must have suffered a calamity. If they went out, they would all die if nothing unexpected happened. And here, although it was the Yellow Springs path, they could still protect their lives. When the outside world is peaceful, I will personally come to bring you back, Jiang Chen said with a solemn expression and an inviolable aura. This is an order. We are not afraid of death. We were born as people of the ancestral court. Even if we die, we will be buried in the ancestral court. The people of the ancestral court were very determined. Meaningless death? What's the use of that? Why don't you stay? Perhaps in the future, you will be the only seeds of the great wide world. Jiang Chen sighed. As soon as these words came out, everyone fell silent. They actually understood Jiang Chen's thoughts. If all the living beings in the outside world died, then they would still exist. As long as they did not die, the great wide world would still exist. We won't go out. We can only stay here and hope that the celestial world will react and send someone to kill the source of darkness. The powerhouses of the three realms of Yin and Yang sighed. They had thought it through and really planned to stay here. Even if their home was destroyed, they couldn't care less about it. I never thought that I, a dignified creature at the end of the path, would one day hide on this Yellow Springs path. Someone sighed with endless helplessness and bitterness. I have the protection of the lamp bearer. If I go, there might be hope. You guys stay here. Jiang Chen sighed and said, with the three worlds working together, the creatures on this immortal ancient road can't do anything to you. You guys take care. After saying that, Jiang Chen stepped forward without looking back. He even handed Nayland Mayer's remnant soul to Rotten. He knew that this was a narrow escape. Chapter 1430. The door of reincarnation was right in front of them, and the world was just one step away. Everyone stayed behind, including Rotten Man and the others. Although they wanted to accompany Jiang Chen to fight and destroy the source of darkness, they knew very well that even the powerhouses at the end of the road couldn't resist the source of darkness. Even immortals would die, let alone them. As subordinates of the ancestral court, we obey Jiang Chen. We'll stay here and wait for you to pick us up. In the end, Jiang Chen took that step and passed through the door of reincarnation. As the light flickered in front of his eyes, he finally returned to the outside world. As soon as he returned from the outside world, Jiang Chen's expression changed. He felt as if something had happened to him. However, this change was very strange and indescribable. Even Jiang Chen didn't know what had changed. He didn't think too much about it and rushed toward the ancestral court. However, when he arrived at the ancestral court, he found that it had already turned into ruins. Even the mountain gate no longer existed. There were corpses everywhere. These were all disciples who had joined the ancestral court. Wakako, Baifinyu? Jiang Chen shouted one by one, but no one responded. This place seemed to be dead, and it was deathly silent. At this moment, Jiang Chen's mind trembled, and his body trembled. He couldn't accept it. They're still alive. At this moment, the lamp-bearer's voice sounded. He asked Jiang Chen to go to the back mountain. There was a barrier and layers of array formations protecting it. Inside was the time domain that Jiang Chen had established back then. Back then, in order to allow Wakako and the others to quickly increase their cultivation, Jiang Chen didn't hesitate to abandon his own time law and create this time domain. Now, he didn't expect that the ancestral court would be destroyed, but the time domain would still exist. However, thinking about it carefully, it made sense. This place was protected by layers of array, formations, and barriers. It concealed its aura and concealed the tracks of the Great Tao. Even if the source of darkness came personally, it would be difficult to discover it. Let them continue to cultivate inside. Jiang Chen sighed softly. Now that the outer world was so chaotic, there were not many living beings to be seen. If Wakako and the others were to come out now, they would most likely die. What do you plan to do now? The lamp-bearer asked. I also need to find a place to go into seclusion. With my current cultivation, there is no way I can fight against the source of darkness. Jiang Chen smiled bitterly. Only by stepping into the broken path will I have a chance of survival. Even if the road is broken, I'm afraid it won't work. The lamp-bearer said in a deep voice. The cultivation of the man on the immortal ancient road is about the same as mine. He is in the immortal realm. As for the source of darkness you mentioned, I'm afraid he has reached the true immortal realm. He is one level higher than the immortal realm. In a plane like this, forget true immortals. Even an immortal is enough to sweep through everything. Jiang Chen nodded. He knew that the lantern-bearer was right. However, if he didn't give it a shot, how would he know that it wouldn't work? I have to go. I'm going out for a while. Perhaps we won't meet again." The lamp-bearer spoke softly. He walked out from the depths of Jiang Chen's soul. He used the power of the Great Path to reforge his body and finally took shape. He didn't say much, and Jiang Chen didn't ask too much. The two of them looked at each other and then turned to leave. Jiang Chen was going into seclusion, and the lamp-bearer was most likely going to find the man on the immortal ancient road. The lamp-bearer was very strong, but now he couldn't contribute much to this world. The only thing he could do, perhaps the only thing he could do, was to kill the man on the immortal ancient road. Everything has been destroyed. The mountains and rivers have collapsed, and the sun and moon have dimmed. 90% of the Great Thousand World has been destroyed. In a few days, Jiang Chun traveled all over the Great Thousand World. Looking at the world that had turned into ruins, he felt very uncomfortable. How many creatures were there in a world? Among these creatures, there might be his friends, but there might also be his enemies. But now, all of this was gone. There was an ignorant young man walking in the dilapidated world, accompanied by a few old men. He looked up at the starry sky, and his innocent eyes flickered with doubt. He asked the old men beside him, "Grandpa, why is the starry sky not bright now, and there is no sun during the day?" "This is temporary. The world is changing. Child, don't ask too much. You only need to believe in one thing. The sun and moon will appear again, and the grass and trees on the earth will grow again." There was a trace of sadness in the eyes of the old men. They were cultivators, so they naturally knew what had happened to this world. They survived and searched for other living beings in various parts of the world. They wanted to protect these people. They were the seeds of the Great Thousand World. The ancestral realm is still here. On this day, Jiang Chun came to the ancestral realm. After entering, he found that the ancestral realm hadn't changed at all. The people here still live so comfortably. "You're back." Lu Ming sensed Jiang Chen's arrival and brought him to the #1 sect in the south. The Great Thousand World is gone. Less than 1/10 of the world is left. Jiang Chen was puzzled. Why is the ancestral realm fine? What's the dark source? Does he dare to come to the ancestral realm? We ancestral realm beings are not to be trifled with. Lu Ming said confidently, "The ancestral realm has produced an invincible being. The Dark Source is probably worried that there are other powerhouses in the ancestral realm, similar to the invincible being." As soon as he said this, Jiang Chen couldn't help but curl his lips. Naturally, he didn't believe it. An invincible being? That was only invincible in this plane. If he encountered an immortal or a true immortal, an invincible being was nothing. What secrets are hidden in the ancestral realm? Jiang Chen said seriously, "Now that things have come to this, you can't hide anything from me, right? The ancestral realm has a path to the immortal world." Lu Ming said softly, "Otherwise, why is our world called the ancestral realm?" The ancestral realm has never been destroyed. Even when it was targeted by the Great Thousand World, they didn't dare to destroy the ancestral realm. This was because if the ancestral realm was destroyed, the path to immortality for the cultivators of the Great Thousand World would be completely destroyed. However, even so, the ancestral realm was still sealed and cursed. It was also because of this that the path to immortality in the Great Thousand World was broken. As for the path to immortality that Jiang Chen had opened up, it was just a crooked path. I see. The ancestral realm isn't called the ancestral realm because there's an invincible being, but because there's a path to immortality here. Jiang Chen understood. It was no wonder that the Dark Source didn't dare to attack this place. If the ancestral realm was destroyed, the immortals in the heavens would definitely notice. At that time, the gate of immortality would open from top to bottom, and the immortals in the heavens would descend. The Dark Source wouldn't be easy to deal with. Of course, the reason why the Dark Source doesn't dare to behave atrociously in the ancestral realm is because our invincible being has returned, Lu Ming said mysteriously. Lu Ming said mysteriously. Suddenly, he lifted his head and looked into the distance. In the direction of his gaze, there was a man who looked like a young man slowly walking towards them from the horizon. Chapter 1431. A young man with a calm expression, with a trace of a smile at the corner of his mouth, and there seemed to be a gentle breeze blowing by him. His hair moved slightly, and there were streams of obscure flowing light rotating between his eyes. He walked very slowly, but in the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of Jiang Chun and Lu Ming. "You're finally back." The first sentence of this young man was said to Jiang Chun. Jiang Chun was stunned for a moment, pointed to himself, and said, "Are you saying that I've returned to the ancestral realm? Or, I've returned?" Without waiting for the young man to continue speaking, Jiang Chun smiled bitterly and said, "I've only reincarnated 9 times, and there's still a part of my remnant soul on the road to the underworld. If you say that I've returned, I'm afraid it's impossible." As soon as these words came out, the young man laughed and did not explain further. However, his smile obviously had a special meaning, which made Jiang Chun somewhat confused. "This is the invincible warrior of my ancestral realm. You should have seen him before." Lu Ming introduced. "When the invincible warrior died in battle, his corpse fell in the 6 realms. I've seen it before, but how did he come back to life?" Jiang Chun wondered. One had to know that the invincible warrior had died for many eras, and his vitality was cut off. How could he come back to life? The evil race did it? All of a sudden, something occurred to Jiang Chun. Back then, after the invincible warrior's corpse was taken away from the 6 realms, it had been missing. In the end, it turned out that the invincible warrior's corpse fell into the hands of the evil race. After that, Jiang Chun also heard that the evil race wanted to resurrect the invincible warrior to be used by them and dominate this boundless world. Now it seemed that the evil race had succeeded. However, the invincible warrior, after coming back to life, did not seem to listen to the evil race's orders. Such a huge evil race was originally formed by the division of my essence soul. The invincible warrior explained, "They have blood, muscles, and bones. They are the trump cards I left in the boundless world, and also the key to my resurrection." As soon as these words came out, Jiang Chun also understood why the evil race's body was so strange. It turned out that the body of the evil race was a complete fleshly body, and that physical body was the key to resurrecting the invincible warrior. "A single move played for several eras," Jiang Chun exclaimed. "I had no choice. I had long predicted that this world would be in chaos. If I didn't do this, I probably wouldn't have been able to live until now. After all, without becoming an immortal, one's lifespan is limited." The unrivaled expert side. "Can you defeat the source of darkness?" Jiang Chun asked. The unrivaled cultivator shook his head and fell silent. "You can't beat him?" Jiang Chun asked. At this moment, the unrivaled warrior shook his head again and laughed bitterly. "I'm not sure either. After all, the other party is a true immortal, and at my level, I really can't say for sure." "Can't explain it clearly? Have you become an immortal?" Jiang Chun asked curiously. "I haven't become an immortal, but ordinary immortals aren't my match at all," the unrivaled warrior said. "This has to do with my Tao. There are high and low Tao. Those who cultivate low Tao are weak. Those who cultivate high Tao are strong, and those who cultivate high Tao are invincible. There were 3,000 Tao techniques in the world, but there was only one high Tao technique. It wasn't that there was only one high Tao technique, but that it needed to be comprehended. Every high Tao technique was different. The unrivaled cultivator cultivated the Tao technique that he comprehended, which was the high Tao technique. Hence, his combat strength was extremely strong. Without becoming an immortal, he could challenge immortals. Even true immortals didn't dare to casually fight him. Jiang Chun was deep in thought. He frowned and thought about his own Tao technique. He thought about a lot and remained silent. Even when the unrivaled cultivator and Lu Ming left, he didn't notice. He seemed to have entered an epiphany. He had been searching for his own Tao technique and also asking what Tao technique he cultivated. Time passed slowly. After who knew how long, Jiang Chun woke up. He laughed bitterly and said self-deprecatingly, "Until now, I still don't understand what I'm cultivating." However, when he said this, Jiangchen knew very well that the reason why he didn't know what he was cultivating was because he had always thought that he would return. Once he returned, the Tao technique of the past would reappear. Hence, he had never chosen to comprehend his own Tao technique. However, after hearing the unrivaled cultivator's words today, he understood one thing. The world of cultivators relied on strength, and the source of strength was Tao techniques. A high Tao technique was the Tao of invincibility. Do you think this kid can understand? At this moment, in the main hall of the #1 sect in the south, the unrivaled cultivator narrowed his eyes and asked. Lu Ming and Lu Fong were both there. The two of them looked at each other and shook their heads silently. Tao techniques were everywhere in the world. It all depended on which one chose. Anyone could cultivate the 3,000 Tao techniques in the world. However, it was practically impossible for him to comprehend a superior Tao art that belonged to him. Otherwise, there wouldn't be only one unrivaled cultivator in the boundless world, and even the 3 realms of yin and yang. There was only one unrivaled cultivator in the 3 realms. He was the only one who had comprehended his own high Tao technique. As for Jiangchen, although one had to admit that his talent was very strong, comprehending a high Tao technique could not be measured by talent at all. Sir, what did you mean by what you said just now? Lu Ming frowned and said, You just saw him and said that he had finally returned. Could it be? Do you think entering the road to the underworld and passing through the door of reincarnation counts as experiencing another reincarnation? The unrivaled cultivator asked. Of course. Lu Fong nodded and said, Once you cross the door of reincarnation, it's equivalent to experiencing a reincarnation. Even if your physical body and soul don't change, there are still changes in essence. It's still considered a reincarnation. So, when he came out of the road to the underworld this time, which path do you think he took? As far as I know, if you want to come out of the road to the underworld, you can only pass through the door of reincarnation, the unrivaled cultivator said. As soon as these words were said, Lu Ming and Lu Fong's expressions changed drastically. They realized that Jiangchen had only reincarnated 9 times before. After this, wouldn't that be 10 lifetimes? But, from the looks of it, he doesn't want to return. Lu Ming frowned and said, Could it be that something went wrong? There definitely won't be any problems. With the methods he set up back then, no one can stop him from returning. The unrivaled cultivator said, Perhaps. We still need to wait. We need an opportunity. After all, 10 lifetimes of reincarnation aren't that simple. What if that kid refuses to return? I heard him say before that he wants to be himself. Lu Fong said, What a joke. Whether he returns or not, he's still himself. The unrivaled cultivator said, This is actually a hurdle in his heart. When he figures it out, he'll be relieved, and it'll be over. Perhaps at that time, he'll be able to return. Chapter 1432. 10 Lives of Reincarnation. This was not child's play. It was a huge game of chess that had been set up for many eras. No one could stop it. Not even the lord of the ancient underworld or the immortals of the heavens could. The unrivaled warrior knew Jiangchen back then. However, at that time, Jiangchen was not in his first life. However, even if it was not in his first life, the Jiangchen at that time was still ridiculously strong. If the unrivaled warrior had not comprehended his own superior Tao technique, he might not have been the unrivaled warrior of that life. This kid, what is he doing? At this moment, Lu Ming stood outside the main hall and saw Jiangchen in the distance. This kid really did not treat himself as an outsider. At this moment, he was actually fooling around with a group of disciples from the #1 sect of the south. With Jiangchen's cultivation and identity, he was on equal footing with Lu Ming and Lu Fong. But now, isn't he fooling around? The source of the blind darkness is still here, and another one has appeared from the path of a mortal ancient. Why is he fooling around with a group of disciples instead of cultivating? Lu Fong's face darkened. She said with a doubtful tone, Can he be relied on? He can't be relied on, but there's still me. The unrivaled warrior was very confident, but he was even more confident in Jiangchen. He can definitely be relied on. At this moment, Jiang Chun was sitting in the square of the number 1 sect of the South. The disciples of the number 1 sect of the South were sitting around him. From the direct disciples to the outer sect, almost all the disciples were here. When heaven and earth were first created, a wisp of primal chaos turned into primordial chaos and formed the heavens. A wisp of primal chaos turned into the 9 underworlds and formed the earth. A wisp of primal chaos was born and formed all spirits. The heavenly Tao goes round and round, forming the 9 heavens and 10 earths, and dividing them into the 4 seas and 8 wastelands. Spirits observe heaven and earth and remembered Songling. Therefore, there is the saying of cultivation. At this moment, Jiang Chun was in the Zen Tao. He imparted his comprehension of the great Tao to everyone. This was the Tao he believed to be, and also the Tao he had been cultivating all this time. However, Jiang Chun knew that this was not his Tao, but the Tao of the masses. Now, this world might be annihilated at any moment. Jiang Chun wanted to impart his Tao and leave behind some seeds for this world. Of course, perhaps this world would be destroyed. Everything would cease to exist, not even a single seed able to survive. However, since he did it, his conscience was clear. He had been explaining, and if there were people who didn't understand, he would patiently teach them. Time passed slowly. At some point, more and more people had arrived. Some of them were not from the number 1 sect in the South. They came from other sects, other forces, and also from ancient and indestructible inheritances. They were very quiet, but from time to time, they would become noisy. Some people would ask questions if they didn't understand, while others would remain silent if they didn't understand. There were also some who would quarrel over a theory of the Tao. Jiang Chun smiled as he meditated on the Zen Tao while comprehending his own heart. After an unknown period of time, a 5-colored cloud converged in the sky above Jiang Chun's head, and it emanated specks of divine radiance that descended like a spirit rain towards Jiang Chun. He was originally the master of the ancestral court, the person who was blessed by the luck of the Tao of heaven and earth in this era. Now that he was imparting the Tao and receiving guidance, he naturally received the approval of the heavens and thus bestowed a gift. Jiang Chun was still smiling. With a wave of his hand, he scattered the divine radiance that was falling towards him towards everyone. At this moment, some people gained enlightenment, some broke through, and some people's eyes lit up as if they had comprehended some kind of great Tao. There were even some who had extraordinary talent. They were originally emperors, but at this moment, they stepped into the ranks of extraordinary beings. "Thank you, Court Master! Thank you, Court Master!" Everyone shouted. They were grateful in their hearts because this rain of light was a fortune bestowed by heaven and earth, and it originally belonged to Jiang Chun. And now, he had bestowed this fortune to everyone present. Foolish! The heavens bestowed a gift, and the Tao was perfect. What kind of fortune is this? He didn't keep it for himself, but gave it to everyone. What a waste! Lu Ming and Lu Fong were snorting and glaring, but their bodies were very honest. They hid in a corner of the plaza and also bathed in this blessing. There is light in heaven and earth, and naturally there is darkness. The path one takes is different, and the thoughts in one's heart are different. This is the origin of Tao. Tao is not Tao. It is merely the thoughts in one's heart, transformed from one's thoughts. The invincible Tao is the determination in one's heart, transforming it into power, that is invincibility. Jiang Chun was still talking about Zen Tao, but at this point, a 7 or 8-year-old little boy who had just stepped into cultivation asked, "Court Master, are you invincibles?" Once this was said, the entire plaza fell silent. Someone even covered the little boy's mouth, indicating that he had asked the wrong question. Now, everyone in the world knew that Jiang Chun was extremely powerful, but who didn't know that Jiang Chun was not invincible? Asking someone if he was invincible in front of them, wasn't this slapping them in the face? What's more, the person you slapped in the face had previously given you a fortune. However, Jiang Chun laughed a few times, and he laughed very happily. He even walked to the little boy's side and said softly, "I am not invincible yet. If you are not invincible, Then why should I listen to your Zen Tao? I may be young, but I want to be invincible, just like the invincible cultivators of the ancestral realm. The little boy dared to say anything without fear in his childhood. Jiang Chun was still smiling. He patted the little boy's head and said, "Then you must work hard. From now on, you must become an invincible man and protect this world." "Yes." The little boy solemnly nodded. His childish face had a determination that far exceeded that of ordinary people. Jiang Chun was touched and couldn't help but ask, "What is your name?" "Yi Fan," as in the blooming of flowers, as in the flourishing of leaves, as in the mortal of an extraordinary life. The little boy said, "Ha ha, what an extraordinary life. If this world doesn't perish, the next era will belong to you." Jiang Chun said. This was only a small interlude. Jiang Chun continued his Zen Tao day after day, night after night. During this time, many auspicious signs descended. The blessings of the heavens were endless, and he gave them all to these people. Some people had an epiphany, some meditated, and some took that crucial step and actually reached the breaking level. Jiang Chun's cultivation didn't change at all. Many more days passed, and Jiang Chun felt like he didn't have anything left to say. He had already passed on everything he had learned and comprehended to them. Today, he slowly got up and looked up at the sky. He slowly raised his arm and pointed with his finger. He shouted, "Open the door. I want to become an extraordinary one." The moment he said that, there was an explosion in the sky. Then, the clouds split and the Tao split into two. A ray of light descended from the endless void. It was as if there really was such a door in this world, and at this moment, this door was really opened because of Jiang Chun. 9 heavens of Zen Tao, one finger to become an extraordinary. He found his own superior Tao. At this moment, the invincible cultivator who was cultivating suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the sky in shock and surprise. Chapter 1433. Tao was incorporeal to begin with. The reason why there was a Tao was just what all living beings thought. Now, Jiang Chun used the Zen Tao as the foundation and guided his own Tao technique to take shape. The moment he pointed at the sky was the moment a high-grade Tao technique was born from his heart. The invincible warrior calmed down at this moment. He looked at the clouds in the distance, at the void of the heavenly gate, and then at the youth under the heavenly gate. Once upon a time, he was also like this. High-grade Tao technique. You can do it. Suddenly, a dark cloud covered the sky, and an obscure and evil aura erupted. A huge rotten palm passed through the endless distance and headed straight for the heavenly gate. This was to destroy Jiang Chun's high-grade Tao technique. This is the mortal realm. The invincible warrior narrowed his eyes and rushed out. As he opened and closed his hands, a resplendent domain formed, enveloping Jiang Chun and the heavenly gate. Then, he stretched out a hand, clenched his fist, and punched the rotten palm. The fist and palm collided. There was no sound, only the waves and ripples after the collision of endless Tao techniques spread out. The black clouds dissipated, and an old man stood proudly. His entire body was filled with an evil aura, and darkness surrounded him. At this moment, he was glaring at the invincible warrior. How dare a mere mortal fight against a perfected immortal? Although this old man was old, his eyebrows were sharp, and his murderous aura was extremely strong. And this person was the source of the darkness. So, what if you're immortal? Do you dare to fight with a mortal like me? The invincible warrior did not retreat at all. Fighting spirit burned in his eyes. With a wave of his hand, the entire ancestral realm shook. Tens of thousands of auspicious lights scattered down, and the heavens resonated. The providence of the ancestral realm was like a torrential river that supported his body. As long as the ancestral realm exists, I'm invincible. Even if you're an immortal in the sky or a ghost god in the earth, you're nothing. The invincible warrior said softly. His voice was not loud, but it spread to every corner of the great Kiliacosm. At this moment, Everyone knew that there was a place called the Ancestral Realm, and there was a person who did not have a name and was only called the Invincible Warrior. As long as the Ancestral Realm existed and the Invincible Warrior existed, this world had hope and would not be destroyed. Back then, we shouldn't have done that. The Ancestral Realm, we hurt them. Quite a few of the surviving creatures sighed. Their eyes were full of regret, and their hearts were filled with regret and shame. Not too long ago, how many powers, how many sects, and how many undying inheritances had joined hands to attack the Ancestral Realm, attacking until the unmatched experts had no choice but to leave behind a trump card and fall. Now, no one had expected that the final hope of this world would fall on the Ancestral Realm and the unrivaled being. You are very strong. You have a superior Taoist technique, but unfortunately, you are still immortal. You could have ascended a long time ago. Even if the path to the immortal world was cut off, you could still open the immortal gate and ascend on your own. It's just a pity that your laughable thoughts of wanting to protect this world have caused you to give up your great future. You are a weakling. The unrivaled expert laughed a few times. As the saying goes, those who walk different paths cannot make plans together. He was different from the Tao of the source of darkness, so there was nothing to say. At this moment, the unrivaled warrior pointed at Jiang Chun, who was in the middle of comprehending. He stared at the source of darkness and said, "Today, he has to live. His Tao must also exist." What if I don't agree? The source of darkness expression was grave. Even though he had true immortal cultivation right now, he still didn't dare rashly contend against the unrivaled expert. It was all because the unrivaled expert, who had a superior Taoist technique, as well as the Ancestral Realm's energy luck, his strength already reached a type of terrifying level. This was a type of strength that exceeded the shackles, exceeding the scope of what ordinary people could understand. One person? Forget it. Suddenly, not far out, another streak of black mist rose. One could only see that the male they encountered in immortal ancient path appeared. He arrived while treading on the air, hands behind his back, extremely confident. He arrived at the source of darkness side. The two's expressions were ice cold, but their goals were the same. This world couldn't allow two people with superior Taoist techniques to appear. Otherwise, this world would continue to live, while they would die. We can fight. The unrivaled expert's brows jumped. He clearly knew that this battle would be troublesome, the odds pointing to disaster. But now that things reached this point, he wouldn't cower back. No, to be more precise, he had never cowered back in his entire life. I received myriad transformations grace, and was reborn through myriad transformations. Today, he is in trouble, so how can I not come? Right at this time, the lamp-bearer arrived. He had always been searching for that dark male's traces, and now, he finally found him. Lead the way. You traitor. Truly my ancient realm's disgrace. The source of darkness and the dark male continuously berated. When they looked at the lamp-bearer, the killing intent in their eyes became even stronger. I did betray the ancient realm, but I feel like that type of world shouldn't exist. Everything I want is here. The lamp-bearer said, "You all cannot destroy this world. Even more so, cannot destroy this world's heart. Courting death. In my opinion, the two of you really are tired of living today." At this moment, the source of darkness and the dark male roared out angrily, Tao techniques erupting from their bodies. An ancient gate appeared behind one of them, as if there was a world supporting it, endless power pouring into his body. 8 green lamps rose and fell above the other's head, as if they were the wills of the 4 seas and 8 wastelands. Who would rise and fall? Fight? I've never been afraid. The invincible warrior waved his hand and shouted, "Lend me your sword." As his voice fell, Jian Dade and Yao Dade's expressions changed greatly. They merged together, and the grass and leaves became distinct. Then, they turned into a green longsword that pierced through the world wall and the void, and finally landed in the invincible warrior's hand. In the great Thousand Mine, Qian Dao looked up at the starry sky with tears of blood in his eyes. He roared with a hoarse voice, "Kill them! I want to avenge Roer. Those who lead the way should lead the way." The lamp-bearer also waved his hand and shouted, "Lend me your myriad change, heavenly lamp." As his voice fell, a green lamp that illuminated the past and present rushed out from Jiang Chen's body. Then a sword burst out and turned into a long sword that landed in his hand. At the same time, 3 streaks of chaotic energy rushed out, like 3 flowers converging above one's head, and protected the lamp-bearer. "Fight! Kill!" Following a few angry roars, the 4 people faced each other, and a great battle broke out immediately. Endless darkness attacked the light. One side was white, and the other side was black. Both sides used deadly attacks as soon as the battle started, and no one held back. However, this battle ended very quickly. In less than 10 breaths, the 4 people's expressions changed drastically, and they all retreated. The invincible warrior looked up at the endless sky as if he had seen something terrifying. The lamp-bearer, the source of darkness, and the dark male all looked down at the endless depths of the sky. There seemed to be something there that touched their hearts. Chapter 1434. Above the sky, a pair of eyes appeared, looking down at the upper-class world. There was no color in those eyes. They were cold and indifferent, as if there was no emotion at all. The invincible warrior's expression was solemn. Looking at those eyes, he had already guessed the other party's identity. "Immortals in the sky," the invincible warrior said in a deep voice, his heart filled with shock. He did not know why the immortals in the sky would appear. The immortal path had clearly been broken, and the gate of heaven did not appear. How did the immortals in the sky appear in the upper-class world? Could it be because of the source of darkness? At this moment, the 3 people from the source of darkness also lowered their heads and looked below the 9 netherworlds in shock. Their expressions were filled with fear. They could feel that their world had changed, as if it had been destroyed. This feeling was very strange, but it was very real. This caused the heart of the source of darkness to change. He did not continue to fight. He turned around and rushed into the endless sea. He wanted to see if his world had really been destroyed. If it had really been destroyed, then who did it? One had to know that the world where the source of darkness was located was also called the ancient world. The ancient world was in existence on the same level as the celestial world. If the celestial world did not make a move, how could the ancient world be destroyed? Even if the celestial world made a move, the ancient world would not be destroyed. It's really destroyed. The world we are in is gone. The dark man muttered as if he was in a daze. There were tears of blood in his eyes, and he could not understand why this was happening. He also left. He followed the source of darkness into the 9 netherworlds, wanting to break through the realm wall and return to his world. Unfortunately, it was easy to enter but difficult to return. The realm wall was too sturdy. No matter how they attacked, it was difficult to open the realm wall. He could only look at the world that was gradually collapsing through the realm wall. The world is one. The ancient world is just the first. At this moment, the immortal in the sky spoke, his voice cold and heartless. At the same time, the immortal gate actually opened. The immortal stood inside the immortal gate as if he wanted to descend. However, there were Taoist techniques and rules in the world. It was difficult for him to descend to the mortal world. It was almost impossible. But at this moment, another immortal appeared. Immortal mist lingered around his body. He threw a punch and actually wanted to shatter the immortal gate. The celestial realm wants to destroy the great thousand world? The invincible realm expert narrowed his eyes filled with disbelief. He could not believe that the immortals, who were high and mighty in the eyes of the world, wanted to destroy the greater thousand world just like the Dark Source and the others. The greater thousand realms and the 3 realms of yin and yang will all be destroyed. We have already deduced that the great calamity that will befall the immortal realm will originate from you lower planes. In order to prevent chaos in the immortal world, this is the only way. What's more, you're just ants. The 2 immortals in the sky spoke one after another. ignoring everything. In their eyes, destroying a few worlds was nothing. Ants were like dust in front of the azure dragon, disappearing with a sweep. We believe in the immortal realm, and all of us want to become immortals. But you want to destroy us? The unrivaled warrior's face was cold, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. He suddenly felt that becoming an immortal wasn't the right thing to do. In front of the righteousness of the immortal world, everything is nothing. Nothing can shake the immortal realm. More and more immortals appeared at the gate of immortality. They were actually working together to shatter the gate of immortality and enter the lower realm. There is a great Tao in heaven and earth. What you are doing is not the intention of the immortal world. Stop. At this moment, a group of people rushed over from the surroundings of the gate of immortality. This group of people seemed to be opposing the other party. At this moment, they started fighting as soon as they saw each other. As immortal powers surged, the gate of immortality slowly closed. The phenomenon in the sky disappeared, and the scene of the immortal world could no longer be seen. Immortal? What is that? At the same time, a light and indifferent voice came from not far away. Looking carefully, it was actually Jiang Chun who said it. At this moment, his aura was calm, and his divine light was restrained. There wasn't even a wisp of divine power fluctuation. He seemed to have turned into a mortal. However, the unrivaled warrior knew that this was a sign of Tao transcending and returning to simplicity. You succeeded? The unrivaled warrior asked. I succeeded. I can be considered to have stepped onto the path of superior Tao techniques, Jiang Chun said with a smile. He cupped his hands at the unrivaled warrior and said, Thank you for before. What is there to thank? We are all on the same side. The unrivaled warrior waved his hand and pointed above. Did you see that just now? The immortals in our eyes wanted to destroy us. I saw it. So what? When we go to the immortal world, we will destroy them, Jiang Chun said with a chuckle. At the moment, Jiang Chun was speaking calmly and indifferently, as if he didn't care about anything in the world at all. But looking carefully, he seemed to care about everything. He was very confident, but he also gave off an untouchable feeling. You returned? The unrivaled warrior was shocked. Could it be that because he comprehended a superior Tao technique, he returned just like that? Jiang Chun shook his head, indicating that he didn't return. The reason why he was so confident and calm was because he felt that this was how it should be. What he said in his heart was what he said. They returned to the ancient world. Suddenly, the lamp-bearer rushed over with a terrified expression. His voice trembled as he said, The ancient world was destroyed. They returned to the ancestral realm. They broke the realm wall? Jiang Chen's eyes narrowed, and his expression finally became serious. Although they were destroyed, there were definitely living beings who survived. As for those who survived, they were definitely top-notch experts. Since the realm wall was broken, those living beings would definitely enter the upper-class world. However, with the current strength of the upper-class world, how could it stop a large number of powerhouses from the ancient world? It's time for the decisive battle, and I should also go and see someone, Jiang Chun said softly, looking into the distance. You should also come out, right? You've been hiding behind the scenes, controlling everything, controlling me for several reincarnations. As soon as these words were said, the unrivaled warrior and the lamp-bearer's expressions changed slightly. Both of them thought of the same person at the same time, the lord of the ancient netherworld. However, when the beautiful figure appeared in the distance, the two of them were already stunned. They saw a woman with a bright moon above her head and a sea surging under her feet. Wherever she passed, Tao techniques retreated, laws were overturned, and everything turned into nothingness. Long time no see. The woman had red lips and white teeth. She spoke softly and looked at Jiang Chun with a gentle smile on her face as she slowly walked over. Jiang Chun nodded, and his eyes flickered with complicated emotions. He said, Should I call you Moon Goddess or Moon Goddess? Who is this? The unrivaled warrior and the lamp-bearer were dumbfounded. There was such a powerhouse hidden in this world? Up to you, as long as you like it. The Moon Goddess smiled. Her smile was very beautiful, but she added, "Of course, if you want, you can also call me the Lord of the ancient netherworld." Chapter 1435. The Moon God was an untainted woman. In his previous life, it was with the help of the Moon God that Jiang Chun was able to be reborn. At that time, Jiang Chun had been blaming himself. If it weren't for him, the Moon God wouldn't have fallen. But as time went by, Jiang Chun became more and more suspicious. It was as if there was a hand behind him that had been setting up a game of chess. At first, Jiang Chun thought that this person was Mu Yud. After all, this guy was too mysterious and deceitful. But then, Jiang Chun began to suspect Nian Chang'e. After all, without knowing anything, Nian Chang'e openly sided with the three underworlds. This made Jiang Chun mistakenly think that Nian Chang'e had betrayed the greater world. But later, when he learned that he was plotted against during his reincarnation, various signs showed that there was indeed such a person behind his reincarnation. Jiang Chun thought about it for a long time. It was only recently that he was sure that this person must be close to him, and she was also from the immortal world. Combining all the things that Robe or said to him before, Jiang Chun became more and more certain that this person was the Moon God. Of course, Jiang Chun didn't expect that the so-called master of the ancient underworld was also the Moon God. "You really give me a lot of surprises." Jiang Chun frowned. He stared at the Moon Goddess with a weird look. Her beautiful face was covered with a layer of mist that no one could see through. The Moon God's smiling face was very beautiful. Her eyes were bright, and her teeth were white. However, at this moment her smile was a fake one. "Tell me, why did you stop me from reincarnating?" Jiang Chun asked. "It's because in this life, as Jiang Chun, your talent is rarely seen, and it's even greater than in your previous lives. If I didn't stop you from reincarnating, this world would have been yours long ago," the Moon God said truthfully. At this point, there was no need to lie. What should be said had been said. There was no need to hide. "So, in my previous life, you secretly set up a trap and had 36 sovereigns ambush me, causing me to die but not allowing me to enter the cycle of reincarnation. You wanted to make the world, and even myself, believe that I had reincarnated 10 times, Jiang Chun said. "You were afraid that I would return?" "Return?" "Yes, I am." Moon God nodded. "But so what? In my eyes, if you continue to grow in this lifetime, then you'll be even stronger than you were in your first lifetime. So, whether you return or not, I don't want you to exist in this world." When Jiang Chun heard this, he smiled and nodded. He understood. But there was one thing he was very confused about. He looked at Moon God, and just as he was about to ask, Moon God smiled and said, "I used to love you." "That's enough." Jiang Chun was relieved. There was no longer any expression on his face. "Once loved." All right, time would indeed erase everything. Even feelings and love would be erased. Jiang Chun couldn't remember the events of his previous lives, but he could more or less guess that in a certain era, he and Moon God were indeed very loving. But now everything had changed. The world had changed, and so had people's hearts. "Actually, I didn't want to appear so early, and I couldn't bear to kill you." Moon God sighed. "Unfortunately, you comprehended a superior Tao technique, so I had to kill you. I watched you for several lifetimes, and I couldn't bear to do it. But now," Jiang Chun was expressionless. He knew that Moon God's appearance today and confession meant that she was going to make her move. After setting up for several eras and watching the ups and downs of life after life, everything had finally come to an end. "Actually, if I wanted to kill you, I would have done it long ago, but I really couldn't bear to." Moon God sighed, and a hint of struggle flashed in her eyes. However, as soon as she finished speaking, her eyes flashed coldly. A bright moon rose behind her, illuminating thousands of miles. At the same time, in a pure land in the celestial realm, a group of people looked down at the great thousand world with excited expressions. Someone even shouted, "The celestial lord has returned. My heavenly moon sect will not be destroyed. The celestial lord has returned, and the celestial realm will be unified." In another place in the celestial realm, in a barren area, a group of old, weak, and disabled people also looked down at the great thousand world. Some of them were missing an arm, some had a broken leg, and even the youngest youth, who was only in his teens, was missing half of his body. They lowered their heads and murmured as if they were praying for someone. "No, you've been contaminated?" At this moment, the unrivaled warrior stared at Moon God and exclaimed. He saw very clearly that there were traces of black fog entwining in Moon God's bright moon. That was a power that didn't belong to this world, nor did it belong to the celestial realm. Back then, it was this black fog that caused the heart of the entire ancient realm to change. She's been contaminated. She's been contaminated by the black fog. The lantern-bearer also exclaimed. When Jiang Chen heard this, the cold light in his eyes suddenly skyrocketed. He stared at Moon God and asked, "You have really been contaminated?" "Contaminated? Maybe, but I think this feeling is very good. I'm above everything, and this world is trembling for me. Isn't this feeling good?" Moon God said softly. When these words came out, Jiang Chen was also sure that Moon God had changed. However, it wasn't her original intention. Perhaps, at some point in time, Moon God had encountered something and was finally contaminated by that wisp of black fog, causing her mind to change greatly. However, looking at Moon God's appearance, she shouldn't have been seriously contaminated. Otherwise, he would have been able to kill Jiang Chen several eras ago. "Is there a way to get rid of the black fog in her body?" Jiang Chen asked. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, he saw a bright moon falling from the sky. It cracked the void and pressed down on Jiang Chen. In the bright moon, a wisp of black fog was trembling, as if a ghost face could be seen. "Suppress it first, then find a way," Invincible Warrior said in a deep voice. "She's very strong. Be careful. That's the only way." Jiang Chen nodded. The next moment, the three of them joined forces and used their Dao techniques, which barely shattered the bright moon. But right after that, another bright moon descended and filled up the entire area. "This little girl is stronger than the source of darkness?" Invincible Warrior exclaimed. "Nonsense. She came from the celestial world and has always been there. After so many generations, it's difficult for her cultivation not to improve," the lantern-bearer said angrily. "Suppress." At this moment, Jiang Chen roared, and 3 wisps of chaotic energy erupted, like 3 flowers converging, blocking the bright moon. Then, the Emperor's vine appeared, and the vines were like chains, trapping Moon God. Then, an ancient bell appeared above Jiang Chen's head, the hour hand turned, and the law of time erupted. "That's all? In the end, you are too weak. Do you think the 3 of you can suppress me? What a joke." Moon God's face was full of contempt. Moonlight bloomed, and the black fog jumped up. With just a wave of her hand, the Emperor's vine shattered, and the 3 wisps of chaotic energy were pushed back into Jiang Chen's body. Even the ancient bell above Jiang Chen's head that represented the law of time was shaking, almost breaking. Chapter 1436. The Moon Goddess was too strong. When the bright moon rose into the sky, all laws were destroyed. The law of time was turbulent and couldn't be condensed at all. Even the 3 strands of chaotic energy were almost scattered. The unrivaled warrior and the lamp-bearer kept retreating with fear in their eyes. Obviously, they didn't dare to fight the Moon Goddess head-on. Jiang Chen was the same. Blood spurted from his mouth. A ray of moonlight like a sharp sword had already landed between his eyebrows. At this moment, Jiang Chen could clearly feel that death was in front of him. However, after a few breaths, Jiang Chen was stunned because the ray of moonlight didn't move an inch. It was pressed between Jiang Chen's eyebrows. At the same time, a hint of struggle flashed in the depths of the Moon Goddess's eyes. Obviously, the Moon Goddess hadn't been completely corroded and still retained a trace of consciousness. "Hurry up and leave," the Moon Goddess said with difficulty. There was a hint of tenderness and love in the struggle in her eyes. "Good chance. Suppress." At this moment, the lamp-bearer and the unrivaled warrior's eyes shone brightly. One of them formed a seal with both hands. It was as if the heavens were descending. The images in the sky were like ink that covered the bright moon behind the moon goddess. The other rushed out and used the ancestral realm's providence as a guide. A seal fell and pressed between the moon goddess's eyebrows. Under the double attack, the moon goddess's expression became dazed. The power in her body gradually calmed down until a trace of clarity appeared in her eyes. "Kill me." The moon goddess came back to her senses and looked at Jiang Chun with a complicated expression. "You can't suppress me. When the power in my body awakens, you will all die. There must be a way," Jiang Chun said in a deep voice. He looked at the unrivaled warrior and the lamp-bearer and asked, "What other way? Suppress her first and think of a way slowly." The unrivaled warrior said in a deep voice, "Hurry up and attack. With just the two of us, we can't completely suppress her." Jiang Chen's face turned serious when he heard that. The aura of primal chaos appeared once again, and the phantoms of dragons and tigers appeared. A rose bloomed, and a thorny flower appeared. His hands were forming a seal. A matrix appeared out of thin air. In the end, it turned into many obscure runes that were imprinted on Moon God's body. 3,000 array formations and boundaries, in addition to the powers of the three of them, finally managed to suppress the Moon God. Of course, this was only temporary. They could all feel that there was a special power in Moon Goddess's body. It was extremely terrifying, even surpassing immortal energy. This power was struggling and slowly awakening. Once this power awakens, the moon god will break free. What should we do? Jiang Chen sighed. They couldn't keep suppressing the moon god forever, so they had to think of a solution as soon as possible. However, this was the first time the unrivaled warrior and the lamp-bearer had encountered such a situation. They were at a loss of what to do. "If you can come back, you will definitely have a way," the lamp-bearer said. "Back then, I also fell into darkness. It was you who brought me back to the light. It's just that I don't know what methods you used back then." "Will she be saved if I return?" Jiang Chen asked seriously. "Definitely," the lamp-bearer nodded. Others might not know Jiang Chen's ability back then, but the lamp-bearer had a deep understanding of it. He was the first living being to enter the Great Thousand World from the Ancient World, and he was also the first person to be purified by Jiang Chun from the Ancient World. He knew very well that if Jiang Chun returned, with that impossible power, he would definitely be able to help Moon God return to the light. But could the current Jiang Chun return? He can return, but I don't know when he can return. The unrivaled warrior smiled bitterly. "Returning is inevitable, but I don't know if she can wait." "Return, return," Jiang Chun whispered, the corners of his mouth slightly raised, as if he was smiling, but in fact his heart was bitter. He also wanted to return, but he wanted to be himself more. But now, if he did not return, Moon God would completely fall into darkness. At that time, Moon God would go berserk, darkness would descend, and this great thousand world would really be destroyed. "How should I return?" Jiang Chun sighed. "Return? How could he return?" Jiang Chun did not know, the unrivaled warrior did not know, and the lamp-bearer did not know either. Perhaps the only person who knew how to return was Jiang Chun himself. But he was a little confused. "Kill. The ancient world has been destroyed. The Great Thousand World, and even the three worlds of Yin and Yang will be buried with our ancient world." Suddenly, angry roars came from afar, and a hole was torn in the boundary wall of the ancient world. Under the lead of the Source of Darkness and the Dark Man, dozens of dark creatures rushed into the Great Thousand World. Some of them used secret techniques to rush into the three worlds of Yin, and some rushed into the three worlds of Yang. As for the Source of Darkness and the Dark Man, both of them stayed in this Great Thousand World. "Today, I will kill you. No one in this world can stop me." The Source of Darkness's eyes were filled with killing intent, full of anger. The ancient world had been destroyed for some reason, and his home was gone. He was already angry and depressed. Now, He was venting his anger on the three great worlds. The source of darkness also understood that in this world, only the three people in front of him could stop him. Kill these three, and the world would be united. You still want to save her? You don't know that if it weren't for her, that wisp of black mist wouldn't have corroded my ancient world. My ancient world wouldn't have changed. You say I'm the source of darkness, but what is she? At the end of the day, she's the true source. The source of darkness looked at Moon Goddess, his eyes blazing with killing intent. Now that you're awake for the time being, why don't you tell them what you did back then? Moon Goddess's beautiful face was full of bitterness and regret when she heard that. She looked at Jiang Chun and lowered her head slightly. Apart from love, there was more guilt in her eyes. She was silent for a moment, then slowly said, "When the six of us descended to the lower realm, we were forced to do so. We couldn't return to the world of immortals for the rest of our lives. I've been thinking of ways to return to the world of immortals, until I encountered that thing." "What thing?" Jiang Chun asked. He was also curious as to what it was that could corrode an entire world. "That should be a coffin. There's a crack in the coffin," Moon Goddess said slowly. Back then, she had felt an invincible power in the coffin. She had wanted to use that power to return to the world of immortals. But who would have known? That power was too strong, too evil, and she couldn't control it. In the end, the result was the same. She was corroded, and so was the entire ancient world. Don't say that the people of the ancient world are cruel. We've also been corroded. Everything we do now is just following our hearts. If you want to blame someone, blame her. The source of darkness mocked. But we have to thank her. If it weren't for her, we wouldn't have obtained such great power. Chapter 1437. The origin of the darkness came from Moon God. This was something no one had expected. Even Moon God herself had not expected this. But if he said that she was wrong, what was wrong with that? Was it wrong to search for a way to return home to the world of immortals? Who would have known that the power within the coffin would be so strange and evil before they'd used it? That coffin is too strange. It's buried in nothingness. I found it by accident. The Moon Goddess frowned. She seemed to be suspicious and said, "But I feel like someone is guiding me to that coffin. Does that mean someone is plotting in the dark?" Jiang Chun frowned. But it was too late to say anything now. The survivors of the ancient world had descended upon the three realms, and the three realms of yin and yang were in shambles by now. After all, the powerhouses of the three realms had all remained on the Yellow Springs path, waiting for a glimmer of hope and survival. Without the protection of their powerhouses, it wouldn't take long for the three realms to be destroyed. In fact, the black mist might even erode the inhabitants of the three realms. What's going on? Dead? Are they all dead? The origin of the darkness and the dark man's expressions changed drastically. In the ancient realm, they could be considered as people who had become saints and ancestors. They could sense the other living beings in the ancient realm. But now, they couldn't sense the presence of those who'd gone to the three realms of yin and yang. It was as if they'd all been killed. How dare mere darkness scum invade the three realms of yin with the two of us watching over them? You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Do you really think you're invincible in this world? Two sonorous voices rang out from the three realms of yin like thunder. Their voices were so loud that they shook heaven and earth. Tens of thousands of laws broke through the three realms of yin and transformed into two figures standing next to Jiang Chun. Human Emperor? Demon Emperor? Jiang Chun looked at the two in surprise. It seemed that they hadn't seen each other in a long time. They'd met once during the destruction of the six realms, but hadn't seen each other since. "Why haven't you returned yet? The sky is about to fall, and you can still hold it in." Human Sovereign stared at Jiang Chun with a strange look. There was a look of disappointment in his eyes. The Demon Emperor curled his lips and expressionlessly glanced at Jiang Chun before shaking his head. He seemed to be very disappointed with Jiang Chun. Jiang Chun blushed. He wanted to return too. After all, only by returning could he save Moon God. But how could one return just because they wanted to? Right now, he didn't even know how to return. If the ancient world is really that strong, why don't they just attack the immortal world? Why did he come to the three major worlds? In the end, the ancient world is still inferior to the immortal world. At this moment, the demon emperor was looking at the source of darkness and the man with a haughty expression. His eyes were filled with contempt. He also came from the immortal world and considered himself a member of the immortal world. It was only natural for the demon emperor to react the same way upon seeing a being from a hostile world. What a joke! What does the ancient world want? Your own world has been destroyed by the immortal world, and only a few ants like you are left. What kind of tricks do you want to play? Human sovereign didn't mince his words and made it clear that the ancient world had been destroyed by the immortal world. The source of darkness and the man's expressions darkened, their eyes filled with murderous intent. They were very strong, and at their strongest, they were definitely stronger than true immortals. Otherwise, the ancient world wouldn't have dared to challenge the immortal world. But now, in order to destroy the three major worlds, they'd broken through the realm barrier. Their cultivation and Tao were incompatible with this world, so their cultivation was naturally suppressed. But even so, they were still confident that they could kill everyone present. The lower realms have been polluted. To prevent the immortal world from being polluted as well, we can only destroy this place. Suddenly, the demon emperor and human sovereign turned to Jiang Chun at the same time. You also come from the immortal world, so you should also think for the immortal world. Jiang Chun was dumbfounded. He'd thought that these two had come to save the world, but even if I return and recover my memories, I still won't choose to destroy the three major worlds. Jiang Chun said in a low voice. Every world, every living being, every blade of grass, every tree, and even the mountains and rivers have their own reasons for existing. What are we? What right do we have to deprive them of their rights? How laughable. Only you can say such things now. When you return, your thoughts will definitely be the same as ours. Our roots are in the immortal world. Now, if we destroy all darkness, we might be able to return to the immortal world. The human sovereign said, looking up at the sky and shouting, "We are willing to work for the immortal world. Please let us return to the immortal world." However, the gate of immortality closed, and the sky was silent. No one responded. This made the human sovereign a little disappointed, and the demon emperor sighed. Ever since they'd come to the lower realms, they'd been thinking about returning to the immortal world all the time. They'd done many things, but the people of the immortal world didn't seem to see them. Or perhaps they were determined not to let them return. The immortal world in your eyes doesn't welcome you, Jiang Chun said mockingly. It's better to stay in the human realm. It's worth it. Whether it's worth it or not, we'll talk about it later, the human sovereign said softly. Then, his true chi of the ecliptic path erupted like a yellow dragon and charged at the source of darkness. At the same time, the demon emperor appeared. With a wave of his hand, a beam of light fell and enveloped the dark man. Both of them attacked with killing moves. That's it? What human sovereign? What demon sovereign? Bullshit. You're nothing but losers of the immortal world. The source of darkness and the dark man looked disdainful. With a shake of their bodies, they shattered the attacks of the human sovereign and the demon sovereign. Then, the two of them charged toward the human emperor and the demon emperor. However, before the battle could fully begin, several screams came from the Yang Three Realms. The source of darkness's expression changed drastically. He sensed that the people who'd entered the Yang Three Realms were all dead. Don't you know that the Yang Three Realms has 9 ancestors? How dare you invade? With the 9 of us here, the world will return to 1. At this moment, at the boundary wall of the Yang Three Realms, the 9 ancient spirits stood proudly, stepping on the corpses of the ancient world's creatures. They'd stayed in the Yang Three Realms for a long time. Their Tao skills had become more and more terrifying, even surpassing the immortal world. They didn't ascend because they felt that it was good to stay in the Yang Three Realms. Wasn't it good to become a saint and be respected by tens of thousands of people? Becoming an immortal? What was that? When they reached the immortal world, with their cultivation, wouldn't they be slaves to others? These 9 guys are getting stronger and stronger, Jiangchen exclaimed. Even now, he didn't have much chance of winning against the 9 ancient spirits. These 9 are the strongest experts of each era to begin with. Their aptitudes are extraordinary. It is only normal for them to have this level of strength now. The unrivaled being said, back then, even I didn't dare to face these 9 head-on. Chapter 1438. No one would have thought that the 9 ancient spirits, who had stirred up the dark blood era in the boundless world, would now become the guardians of the 3 realms of Yang. The 9 ancient spirits had become saints in the 3 realms of Yang. Their lives were so comfortable that they did not even want to become immortals. What shocked Jiangchen and the others the most was that the 9 of them were not only powerful individually, but if they joined forces, even the source of darkness would not dare to fight them head-on. We don't care if the 3 realms of Yin is destroyed, but you can't touch the 3 realms of Yang. You can't touch the 3 realms of Yang, nor can you touch the boundless world. We are from the boundless world, and this is where our foundation is. If you dare to destroy our foundation, we will destroy you. At this moment, the 9 ancient spirits were very confident and stood proudly like the 9 strongest gods in the world. Even the human emperor and the demon emperor were surprised. They did not expect the 9 of them to become so powerful. If Shao Qingyi hadn't devoured one of them, and if the 10 ancient spirits appeared at the same time, who in the world would be able to fight against them? Zhang Qin smiled bitterly. What 9 great ancient spirits? They're just ants in our eyes. If you dare to come, we will kill you. The source of darkness was surprisingly calm. A shadow appeared behind him. If one looked carefully, it was actually a world. However, this world was destroyed and was in ruins. This was the ancient realm. He took care of the destroyed ancient realm in his own Tao technique, with a world as the foundation, his combat strength. At this moment, the human emperor and the demon emperor's expressions changed drastically. They were no longer as calm as before. They knew very well how powerful a person who had a world as his support was. Humph! 9 ants, even if the original seed doesn't do anything, I can destroy you. The dark man had a look of contempt as a shadow appeared behind him. Upon closer inspection, those were thousands of destroyed worlds. These are my military exploits. These are my achievements. These worlds that I destroyed belong to my Taoist magic. Do you really think that the original seat and I don't have the strength? The dark man raised his eyebrows and said, "Let's fight." However, at that moment, no one dared to make a move. The source of darkness, that is, the original seat, did not dare to make a move. After all, Jiang Qin's lineup was too extravagant. The 2 emperors of the human race and the demon race, the 2 invincible lanterns, the 9 great ancient spirits, and Jiang Chun, who inherited the fate of the great 1,000 worlds. With such a lineup, even a true immortal would not dare to casually make a move. What? Aren't you going to fight? Are you guys fighting or not? If you have the guts, fight first. After a dozen breaths of time, both sides began to clamor, one more ferocious than the other. However, none of them made a move. Why fight? If you want to fight, go fight in the immortal world, Jiangchen suggested. The ancient world was destroyed by the immortal realm, and the immortal realm also wants to destroy the 3 major worlds. Logically speaking, we have a common enemy. That makes sense. The dark man nodded. The celestial realm is truly detestable. This isn't appropriate, right? We are all from the immortal world, the human emperor said in a low voice, staring at Jiang Chun with an unfriendly expression. Hurry up and return. Looking at you now, you really make people angry. No one can destroy the immortal world, the demon emperor said. I don't care what should be done, but it looks like we won't be able to fight today. Then let's not fight. What fight? We're living comfortably in the 3 Yang realms. What's the point of fighting and killing? In the end, they began to bicker again. After a few hours, They seemed to be tired of talking and finally fell silent. Dismissed. The final battle will come in the end. Before leaving, the primordial seat and the dark man spoke, looking meaningfully at Jiang Chun. The two laughed, as if mocking Jiang Chun. Jiang Chun was a little dumbfounded. What's wrong with these two guys? It's all going to end. No one can stop it. Perhaps everything was already destined. The human emperor and the demon emperor sighed. They seemed to know something as well. After exchanging a wry smile, they returned to the three Yang realms. After that, Jiang Chun, the unrivaled warrior, the lantern bearer, and the moon goddess returned to the ancestral realm. As soon as they returned, Jiang Chun anxiously called a group of experts of the ancestral realm over and asked about the return. He wanted to return because only by returning could he save the moon goddess. The most important thing was that Jiang Chun had a premonition that the matter of the Great Thousand Worlds would not end here. A real war was about to begin. Although the primordial seat and the dark man had left, it might not be long before they came back again. At that time, their combat strength would definitely skyrocket. What worried Jiang Chun the most was that the primordial seat and the dark man wanted to destroy the three Yang realms. The human emperor and the demon emperor also wanted to destroy the three Yang realms. If the four of them joined forces, would the three Yang realms be able to stop them? Only by returning and regaining their peak strength could they stop all of this. I seem to have seen this power in an ancient book. At this moment, Lu Ming frowned and stood in front of the moon goddess. He muttered, "It seems to be the power of the Dark Moon clan. It's an ancient clan that attacked the immortal realm a long time ago and was destroyed in the end. In that era, even the immortal realm was dark. The entire immortal realm was almost destroyed. When everyone heard this, their faces were filled with shock. The immortal realm was an existence that could even destroy the ancient realm. Such a powerful world was almost destroyed by a single clan. How powerful was that clan? The moon is bright, and the moon's back is dark. It's like the great Tao of the world. Yin and Yang are separated." Lu Ming said, "If the world is bright, then the Dark Moon clan is the darkest of the great Tao. The power of a clan controls the darkest power in the world. Naturally, they can contend with the immortal realm. Then tell me how to resolve this power." Jiang Chun was anxious. After talking for a long time, he could not come up with a solution. "Perhaps your Tao soul can do it," the lamp-bearer said. "Back then, you led me from the darkness to the light. Although I don't know what method you used, you definitely used the myriad transformations heavenly lamp." However, after saying this, the lamp-bearer shook his head and said, "It's just that there was another lamp. It should be with the Empress. Perhaps we need to use two lamps." Before Jiang Chun could say anything, the unrivaled warrior immediately rejected this idea. "The two lamps cannot meet," the unrivaled warrior said in a low voice. "All transformations return to the same place. If the lamps meet, the world will return to ruins." "Is this why the Empress has been avoiding me?" Jiang Chun whispered. He glanced at the pale moon goddess and sighed. "What should I do?" "Follow your heart." The moon goddess's face was pale, but she still smiled. However, there was too much bitterness and helplessness in her smile. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.